This is a massive, massive rabbit hole that we're gonna go down about Cinder and their manager, who goes by the name of Red or Redacted. Cinder getting canceled was on nobody's 2025 bingo card. If you guys don't know who Cinder is a very, very big VTuber, extremely popular. And this is going to go into the story of Cinder and their manager mistreating other VTubers, mistreating Cinder's artist, trying to gatekeep the artist. There's a lot. There's a lot. So the very first person that put out this document that cracked this whole thing open is Twitter user Nanoless, who is an artist. And Nano writes, "Hello, I'm here to share something that has affected me personally and hurt others. This was very hard for me, but I feel it is necessary. Please do not send hate to anyone on my behalf. This is all I want to say." So this is Nano's document, and Nano writes, "Introduction and notes. I wanted to share my experience with Cinder and Red manipulating me, using me, and dragging me into drama while sabotaging, slandering, and spreading lies about people I thought were her closest friends. Not only do I no longer wish to work with Cinder, but I want to share what I've endured over the years and shed light on what she has been doing behind people's back to protect artists and friends that may be experiencing something similar. I struggled a lot with writing this document and wasn't sure if what I felt and experienced working was real or just burnout, but I think this proves that I was lied to and manipulated over the course of years while working with Cinder. Note, based on working with Redacted, Red, Cinder's manager, and Cinder over the years, I am sure they speak for each other, and there is no reason to believe Red was acting without Cinder's consent and knowledge. Whenever I use they or them, it refers to both of them acting as a team. English is not my first language, and the language barrier, I discussed the situation, my feelings and thoughts with native English speakers who helped me put them into words, so everything is clear without any misunderstandings due to lack of English skills. Note, any names that are censored here were censored because the creator in question did not provide consent to have their name revealed by the time of me posting the document." And I do want to add into this as well. This happens every single time when it comes to situations of people and their partners, because you'll find out that Red has a deeper relationship than just being a manager, where it's always does the partner's actions reflect on the individual, right? And there's always two sides to that and to how people think, because you guys are two individuals, two separate people. But at the same time, you being with this person does show that in some way, shape, or form, you must agree or endorse with their behaviors and their beliefs. Because otherwise, it's the why would you be with them, you know? And of course, there are nuanced situations where like you're with somebody and you didn't learn about their true colors, etc. But it's always tricky to distinguish that situation, you know? For me personally, the way I kind of look at it, if your partner is out here doing some type of funky shit and you act like you don't know anything about it, I'm still gonna put some thought on you because I will view you guys kind of as an entity, okay? It is what it is. Is that fair? That's up for debate, but that's just how I personally see things. We'll love to hear how you guys see things. Slandering other creators. I will start with screenshots showing them speaking ill of other creators and spreading rumors while manipulating me that it's all in our best interest. In addition to spreading ill rumors, they also complain and accuse Bao of giving their editor too much work, resulting in the editor not having any time for new clients, which will be important later on. The screenshots below showing their affection and appreciation immediately, followed by spreading rumors and lies to make other clients appear problematic to manipulate any future decisions regarding comms. Nano is saying, and this is the beginning of January 2025 on the 15th, saying, "I want to understand it better, especially if I cancel her for the second time." This is going to be confusing because their name is Redacted or Red, but then the people who are redacted out of the video or out of this document, I typically refer to as redacted. So I'm just going to be calling them Anon to make it more clear. So Redacted says, "Well, with Anon, she's given a lot of bias and priority at GS, sometimes over Cinder, and we can't really confront them about it. And plus, she's gone 3D lately. Bao has been getting on our nerves for a while. She hijacked our YouTube editor a while ago and is constantly picking up artists that we work with. We've gotten to know her better, being friends with her, but she really rubs us the wrong way with things she does." By the way, do you hear again how Red is referring to themselves and Cinder as a unit, as us? Red continues, "We wanted to try and safeguard our most important artist from her since she's already taken our editor. And I don't mean taken like doesn't work with us anymore, he does, but he has to dedicate time for her now, and sometimes that gets in the way of our projects. Also, one of Bao's music video editors is the one that did the Boss Rush music video, and we're 99% sure she told him to not do any more with us. But like, model art is the most important thing. That's a VTuber's entire image." By the way, do you guys hear what Red is saying here? Red is basically saying, I don't want Bao to take you from us, so don't work with her, essentially. So Red here is basically trying to gatekeep Nano from other VTubers. Red continues, "Well, we love working with you. Cinder wouldn't be Cinder without Nano. Okay, but like, let me tell you the tea about the music video thing. Bao had original songs last year that had music videos by her editor, and the songs flopped. Her editor met us at TwitchCon and was saying he'd love to work with us, practically jumping through hoops to get something planned. We managed to have him squeeze in the Boss Rush music video between his work with Bao. He says he loves working on it and is super excited to work on the next music video project. Boss Rush's song blows up, and he's credited as the editor. I ask him when he's free to do the next project. All of a sudden, he changes his mind and is only working with Bao going forward. No explanation. And Nano sends a little emoji, and Redacted says, there's some context missing since we know how Bao is behind the scenes, but basically we don't have a music video editor right now for our next Boss Rush project. We think Bao got pissed that her editor did an original song music video for her friends without her knowing, and it did 100 times better than her original songs last year that she locked him up so no one else could work with him, and then had him make it public on Twitter that he was only working with her going forward, like a literal announcement tweet. And now she's been barking up the tree of one of our live 2D animators, so like, and you and a Nano model. And Nano says, oh yeah, looking for me sounds sus for sure. And they say some stuff, and Redacted says she has a way of guilt tripping people to get her way. I just want to say, guys, projection is real. Red out here is projecting feelings onto Nano, right? Like, Red feels like Bao is gatekeeping her editor from Sinder. That's how Redacted feels. And so Redacted, as a result, is then, I guess, trying to gatekeep Nano from Bao. Nano writes, Red asked me to cancel on one of their closest friends, Bao, by asking me to cancel my work mid-progress, manipulating me into thinking it's okay since she has many connections and she'll be fine anyways, so I wouldn't feel guilty about it or worry too much. It was and is upsetting to me that Red contacted me specifically to check on me canceling the model I had planned with Bao. So here Redacted says, did you cancel models? And this was earlier August 5th, 2024. Nano says, I did not. Redacted sends a little like peeking emoji and says Nano arc are delayed to 2026. And Nano says, I'm scared to cancel with Bao. And Redacted is reassuring them. You shouldn't be. She has so many connections. She'll find someone super fast. Did you already design her outfit? I remember her showing it to us at WeebCon. Nano says, yes, I can give her the design for free as an apology gift. Nano writes, exclusivity and blacklisting other creators. In the messages below, they mentioned wanting an exclusivity contract, but they didn't want to pay for exclusivity, but rather, when a creator from their blacklist comes asking for a commission, they would guarantee me model work for Sinder only. And if anyone asked me for commissions, they'd commission me instead to compensate for not working with other creators. This felt very strange given that one of the accusations they made was overworking their editor, yet their solution to me working with other creators was for them to essentially overwork me to keep me from working on other projects. Taking a step from the document real quick, that is fucking weird, and that is not how exclusivity works. Exclusivity is really finicky. If you don't want this artist to do that, or like to work with other people, you pay them. Throwing in my 2 cents, I can speak from the influencer side, right? I'm an influencer. I'm not talking about YouTube, my other socials. Brands will pay me to work with them, and brands sometimes want exclusivity, as in they don't want me to work with competitors. And you know what they have to do? They have to pay me for the brand deals that I would have missed out by only working with them. So let's say my rate for one TikTok video is $2,000 and a headset brand wants to work with me and they want a video. And I'm like, cool. Now, let's say the headset brand does not want me to work with any other headset companies because they don't want me to work with competitors. That's chill. They'll have to pay. So it's by duration. So they would be like, okay, we want you to be exclusive with our headset brand for 1 year. I will be like, chill. They would have to pay me for all of the hypothetical brand deals that I would miss. So let's say I do one brand deal with a headset company every quarter. So I'll do 4 a year. Well, if you want me to be exclusive with you guys, you have to pay me $8,000 on top of this because I'm going to be missing out on a potential $8,000 of earnings by not working with competitors. That is, at least in the influencer side, how it works. So I've never heard of anytime a competitor reaches out to you, I will then hire you to work with Sinder and you need to pick Sinder just to make sure that they don't work with you. That's weird. Going back to the doc, Nano writes, the messages below show that their primary concern is that the more non-Sinder models I make, the less valuable my existing models become. It's hard to say how much this messed with my mind as an artist that by working with other people, I'm somehow making my existing models less special. Following screenshot is of them setting up the blacklist, saying I'm not allowed to work with any new clients or create any new outfits for VTuber 1 specifically, and justifying those things by saying that with each model, my art becomes less unique and special, and therefore Cinder somehow will become less special. The idea that my work as an artist and designer is devalued by working with other people is insane and hurtful. After realizing what taking a deal with them would really mean for both my workload and my mental health, I backed out. So all of this discussion is happening January 15th. 2025. Red says, I mean, like, if you want to have some kind of model exclusivity, what would you need to make that sustainable? And Nano says, I mean, share one of your ideas and I can check what I think. And Nano says, I got some ideas. So I asked for help from my friends. They don't know it's you. So a monthly fee calculating my monthly earnings. Also, how long would this be? And if this counts for models I already worked on. So yeah, that's like typically kind of the standard. You would have to pay to make up for the missing work. So Red writes, well, I think the main things we're looking for are you to not take on any brand new model clients and not to make any new models and outfits with Redacted again. You'd still be able to work on models and outfits with all your other existing babies, and your art comms won't be affected. One of our concerns is that more nano babies means nano models don't have the same value anymore. And the second is that there's a few people that we just would rather not be able to have a model from you. Maybe not any new babies at all. The reason why I brought this up at all is there's been a lot of bias with another one of our partners with certain creators, and we'd rather these creators not have what makes Cinder unique, which is your artwork. What about we can pay Redacted for you and you don't have to discount it from the next payment? We'll continue giving you lots of model work. I think 4 this year right now, but you don't work with VTuber A, VTuber B, or VTuber C at all again. Models are art. I don't think you've done anything with like so-and-so or so-and-so before. We also have another GamerSupps label for you too, the AFK. And Nano says, is there a way to add a little bit more? Since Redacted VTuber still asks for art every now and then. Redacted says, we could do it like when that person asks for art, you tell her no, and then tell us to buy another art piece, so you still get a job from it. That is weird. Guys, in my videos, I try so hard to be objective and to be not really opinionated, but this shit pisses me off. Like, how do you wake up in the morning and have the absolute audacity to ask this of your artist? Like, hey, so we don't want to actually pay you the retainer fee that would be standard in the industry to get exclusivity from you. Instead, could you just not work with all these other VTubers that we're really jealous of? Only work with us. And if they approach you for work, you have to say no. But like, we'll give you a commission though, you know? Genuinely, how do you wake up in the morning with this thought in your head and not think you're absolutely delusional? So Nano continues, another example of speaking ill of other creators right after they saw I was working with Shylily, trying to once again make the idea of working with other clients seem like I'm setting myself up with problematic people who will do me no good in the long run to get me reconsider working with them. They also continuously kept asking about my other clients' plans, which for them, quote, made the antenna go up, end quote, and immediately went into slandering Lily. They consistently try to reassure me that despite their best efforts, they just happen to keep trying to bring drama in as reasons for me to go exclusive, and that working only with Cinder is them trying to look out for me. So what Redacted was asking is like, hypothetically, my secret Labubu comes to Nano and is like, I really want a full body portrait. Well, if the Labubu is on Redacted's blacklist, then Nano would have to say no to the Labubu, but then turn around to Cinder and be like, hey Cinder, well, the Labubu asked me for a full body commission and I had to say no, but commission me for a full body so I can make up the difference. That's literally when clout gets to your head. Does Red, and by extension, Cinder, think that because Cinder is big and popular or whatever, they can just have the entitlement to ask for this? Again, you can ask for exclusivity. You gotta pay exclusivity rates. It's high. So here are the screenshots. So this is April 12th, 2025. Red says, hey Nano, do you have more plans with Lily besides the model? Like outfits or merch or anything? Nano says, it's just been the model so far. Red says, okay. Her asking you for a model recently just made the antenna go up. She's been acting weird towards Cinder lately and we don't know if something's going on. Nano says, oh, that's weird. And Red says, ever since after V-Card launched. By the way, V-Card is a VTuber trading card game that was released, I think, in April. So Nano says, what do you consider weird? Red says, lately dipping out of collabs they were both a part of at the last minute, now ghosting her messages. Cinder's raided her a couple of times in the past week and Lily won't acknowledge Cinder by name. Just like weird petty stuff I don't know. Nano says, that's weird since they both share the same store. And Red says, around V-Card's launch, they were talking and collabing and I don't know what happened. But her asking you for a model after this was just weird, even though she says she doesn't plan on getting a new model anytime soon. And Red says, I don't know, hate that we keep bringing you into drama. And Nano says, yeah, I thought it was quite early to go for a new model. Anonymous looking a bit menacing, so I don't talk to her. Red says, feels like we're gonna have to compete with Lily if she's ghosting Cinder and wants the same model mama. To me, this feels like projection. Red is so paranoid that other people are competing with Cinder. They're gonna steal people from Cinder. Why are you this paranoid about this? Unless you are projecting because you're doing it to other people, being shady, ghosting people, dipping out on collabs. And then so as a result, you're paranoid that other people are doing this to you because you're doing it to other people. It's like if you're in a relationship and your partner is constantly being like, you're cheating on me, suspecting you of cheating, going through your phone because they think you're cheating. If they do that, they're very likely projecting and they're probably cheating on you. This feels the same way. So Red continues with the doc. The idea that they need to stay informed, engage the competition is extremely upsetting and toxic to me. The competition they're referring to are people I thought they consider friends who always help support and platform Cinder. When I pushed back, the immediate response was blaming other creators and implying that they initiated it by trying to work with me and that somehow justified their actions. Nano adds, they implied Lily ignored Cinder when she spent over a minute thanking the raid, which you can see in this clip.
Ooh. Oh my goodness! Hello! Oh! Hello, Raiders! Hello! I am playing Berserker. Hello, everyone! Hello! The Pyro Pop raid! Hello, Pyro Pops! What did you guys do?
So yeah, we saw that Lily was actively thanking the raid. Was Cinder just hella pissed Lily didn't name her? That Lily wasn't like, thank you, Cinder? But Lily said, oh, Pyro Pups raid, welcome Pyro Pups. That's like Cinder's pet name for their community. Like, it's acknowledging it's a Cinder raid. If you are so mad Lily did not directly name you by name when she's literally referring to your community by referring to them by your community's nickname, what do you want? That's like basically the same thing. You're just getting mad over nothing. So, more DMs from Red. This is also April 12th to Nano, where Red says, is it just Cinder and Anon you've been doing continuous models for? We'll have the demon update list and final arcade reference for you soon as it's finished. And Nano says, I think it is. I have an outfit for Anon plan too. As for Anon B, got nothing for now. She always comes up with something. Red says, do you know who's rigging Lily's model? Nano names the artist. It's redacted. And then Red says, thanks, Nano. Sorry for all the questions. Just gotta stay informed, especially when it comes to our top artist. Never a break. Again, you are just a client, redacted, a client of this artist. Why are you interrogating them about all this other stuff that other people they're working with? Like, it literally doesn't involve you. So they're talking about being stressed. And then Red says, stupid drama, gotta stay competitive even when we shouldn't have to. Also, your profile photo looks like a guy with a mustache. And Red says, hey, it's not us. Nano sends a little Pepe emoji, and Red says, we aren't the ones getting a model from the artist of the other GamerSupps owner out of the blue and ghosting them and refusing to acknowledge them. Red adds, below, I want to push back and make clear I was uncomfortable in being dragged into drama, and they responded by bringing up more drama and baseless claims, all while trying to guilt trip me. It's ironic and crazy to me that I mentioned not wanting to be dragged into personal issues, only for them on multiple occasions to mention other people's alleged dramas. So this is a DM between Nano and Cinder happening February 11th, where Nano says, Cinder, want to say sorry for stepping back on the exclusivity deal. I want to apologize personally to you since I've only talked about that with Red, but I don't want to be dragged on any personal issues like that. After all, Anon is still a client and it makes me anxious and kind of destroys my mental health to do this kind of deal. Just wanted to let you know I still love working with you and Red, but I'll understand if things don't work out because of Anon. I just love my clients, that's all. And Cinder says, I get it, Nano, and it was unfair to push this on you, but it's really confusing going back and forth about it. I just get compared to her a lot even still today, and it's like I'm always living in someone's shadow, which is one reason why Red asked about not making any more models for her. And when you said, quote, I understand if things don't work out, end quote, it makes me feel like you're okay with not working with me anymore, which hurts so much after all this time. I really appreciate you, Nano, and it's your decision who you ultimately work with, but that's how I'm feeling. I'm gonna be a little mean. Your feelings don't fucking matter, Cinder. The statement of, I understand if things don't work out, it makes me feel like you're okay with not working with me anymore. Yeah, because you're asking for outrageous shit, okay? If you go to your artist and propose a preposterous exclusivity deal, of course they're gonna suddenly second guess wanting to work with you and your manager because you're presenting a shitty deal to them that's gonna make them question your integrity as a person. Okay, if you didn't have the audacity to like come up with this type of shit, I feel like Nano would have never had a potential situation like this, you know? You put them in the crossroads. Like, your insecurity of being compared to another creator that your artist also happens to work with made you put your artist between a rock and a hard place. Or you put Nano in this position of having to pick essentially between you and the other person. And Nano decided your deal sucks and I love my clients because obviously, right? I'm sure Nano worked with people that they liked. And then now you're guilt tripping them because you feel like they're picking the other person over you essentially. Your feelings don't matter if you have this level of entitlement. And Nano responds, I don't really see the point of constantly thinking about being compared to Anon. You're so much bigger already, you've done so much more. But I would never give Anon any priority over you. Also, there's not even any model for her being discussed. I just want to sleep clear-minded. I'm fine not doing her models, but at least GamerSupps art stuff would be fine with me. I don't want to be 100% asshole to her, that's all. And Cinder says, it's not me, but other people's opinions of us. And I'm trying to not get involved in any drama that other people want to talk about comparing us. But I understand where you're coming from, Nano. There's no hard feelings. This to me is a bit of an eye roll because like in the VTuber community, VTubers are always getting compared to each other left, right, and center. It just kind of comes with the territory, you know? And like, just don't sweat about it. Maybe I'm crazy because for me, it's always like, it's not my fucking problem. If people are mistaking or correlating you with somebody else, it is what it is. People in the VTuber community will always do this without fail. You literally cannot avoid it, okay? So just chill, just stay in your lane, focus on yourself, lock in, you're good. Gatekeeping your artist to not work with the other person just so you can seem more unique. Then at this point, where do you draw the line, right? First, it's gatekeeping your artist. Then are you gonna gatekeep your editor? Because your edits are so unique for your music videos, and I don't want you making music videos for other people because their music videos will look too much like my music videos, and my music videos won't be special anymore. If your issue is that you're not special enough, then maybe fix your content. I don't know. Okay, I'll stop yapping now. Nano says, sorry about this. My mental is a bit weak. Cinder says, same girl. Nano says, I'm so sorry for bringing this to you. And Cinder says, I just want you to get that money. The whole situation's kind of sucky. I want to just get along. Nano says, quote, I understand if things don't work out, end quote. About this, it would mostly be if you hate me for not burning Anon down from my list. Cinder says, I would never hate you. Nano says, thank you and same. I'm just an insecure bitch. Cinder says, I love everything we've done together and I want to keep doing more. People saying dumb shit online just makes me stressed. So in the doc, Nano writes, justifying their behavior by stating they're simply looking out for me when none of this has anything to do with me to begin with and manipulating me into being grateful for earnings, well, thanks to them despite the loss of work for a long time returning clients and new clients. Nano continues with the doc, considering my work and models as a team. Another example of going after other clients of mine from before, claiming that having more clients alongside them makes my work less special, with the reoccurrence of, quote, it's just business, end quote. Manipulating me into believing that working with her is special for multiple reasons, that I risk losing that special something as a client if I prefer to work with others. No acknowledgement of my reasoning and need of working with other clients due to the nature of my work, solely focused on their issues. I would also like to note again that this screenshot is one of many occasions that indicates that Red speaks on Cinder's behalf. I was originally concerned with everything going through Red that it may not have been 100% of Cinder's feelings or wants. I messaged her about it to make sure that he spoke on her behalf and confirmed with both of them this was the case. So here are the screenshots. So here is a conversation between Nano and Cinder on November 26, 2023. Nano says, hey Cinder, I hope you're doing okay. I talked with Red and I believed he talked to you already and I thought it would be best if I check here personally. Actually, I wanted to know better your thoughts because Red tried to talk to me and I think I misunderstood things. Again, this was November 2023. Cinder says, I'm good. What's up, Nano? And Nano says, it's mostly about this. Okay, so this is tiny. But Red says, not to discredit any of your work because everything you work on is a top of the line incredible, but when everyone's a Nano baby, it feels less special to be one, if that makes sense. Kind of been getting the same feeling from GamerSupps lately too. But Nano writes, I thought on canceling some models because of it, but then I realized it's not really fair to me. And Cinder says, I understand what he means, but at the end of the day, it's just business. Of course, we love working with you and want to keep working together. But if you prefer to work with other clients instead of me, I know it's for a reason for you to help grow and not because you don't like me. Again, what in the guilt trip? Your feelings don't matter in this. Cinder continues, being one of your very first model babies was so amazing. I was happy to be able to find somebody to help you with live 2D cutting to improve your skills, and I think that's a big part of why everyone loved the 1.0 model and then started asking you for them. I can have Red send you a list of our plans for the future and estimated due dates, so just let us know what you actually want to work on. That way I have time to look for someone else if you don't have the time for my projects or don't want to do them. It feels special to only have your model art for all of my outfits, but just let me know if you don't have time for me to be an exclusive Nano art baby anymore. This is again so self-centered to me, the way Cinder writes this, because it reads as guilt trippy, the first line. Then the second one, I was so happy to find somebody to help you with live 2D cutting to improve your skills. Nano's skill growth has nothing to do with you. Like maybe you sent them a YouTube video or something cool, but it reads as if they're trying to overinflate their importance to Nano in this message. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but my spidey senses are tingling and not in a good way, okay? Reading this shit. And Nano says, it's no personal reason. I would never do something like this to you or anyone. But yeah, it's important for my job to reach far. And I like working on different projects and people. I never said I don't want to work with you anymore. I told Red that even though I have my other works, we'll always have a way to get you a priority spot when possible. You will always be my special baby. And Cinder says, I also think it's important for you to work on projects that you're excited about. So I'll go through my plans with Red and send you our ideas to see if it's possible with your schedule. I know he can be a little pushy bitchy sometimes, but it's because he's doing business for me to grow too, and he absolutely loves your work as much as I do. This to me is a red flag too, because okay, this to me reads that Sinder is very on board with what Red is saying, which again, like what Nano said in this document, indicates they work as a unit, as in Red's actions and words reflect back on Sinder, because Sinder is agreeing and supporting him. So in the doc, Nano writes, Red tried to make it look like they never meant for it to appear like they wanted me to be exclusive, by framing it as something I wanted, while immediately doubling down on the fact that me working with more people makes my work less special and no longer unique, as if every design is just a Sinder clone. So Nano says, this is now to Red. So it's about working with Sinder. My friends told me it's a bit unfair for me to stop other models, so I do more for Sinder, which I agree with. I'm a free artist and I should do what I want to do. I don't want to take sides on any dramas or situations. I still will always have a way to open slots for Sinder, but I won't be having her as my only customer. Red says, I agree. You're a free artist and you should do what you want, but I was under the impression that taking on more Sinder work is what you wanted to do. I didn't think it was like we were making you do that. And then Nano says about a misunderstanding, this reads so manipulative to me. This is literally textbook gaslighting. I was under the impression that you wanted it. So Red says, oh, I see. I mean, what I said is still true about how we feel. I think this is referring to your work is devalued if you work with more people. But I wasn't saying you had to only do Sinder work from now on. That's with anything though, not just your work. If you have something special, then everyone wants and gets that thing, it makes it less special. I'm sorry you were under the impression we were trying to make you only do work for us. Are you dense, Red? When you say these two things back to back, that is exactly what it sounds like. If you say, if you work with more people, then your work is less special. And then in the next breath, you say, oh, I'm sorry you misunderstood and thought we wanted you to only work with us. That is literally what you just implied. Again, by the way, I just want you to note the date. This is November 2023. A year and a half later, in early 2025, they were still trying to pressure Nano to being exclusive by giving them shitty deals. So Red says, I will keep things more business talk and less emotional, LOL. Just let me know how this will affect your schedule so I can tell Sinder after. Sorry for the stress. And Nano says, but every single model I do is unique. I make them special in their own way. It's not like I'm selling Sinder to everyone. Please don't feel this way. And Red says, no, I know. You pour your heart and soul into your models and they're all incredible. And Nano says, I'm sorry I made you both feel this way too. Then Nano writes, it's simply business. Normalizing their behavior once again by stating that this is simply business to sabotage other VTubers' careers and not work with them and focus on Sinder instead. So Red says, it's okay, Nano. You're just making a living and making a name for yourself. And I can't blame you for accepting work from other big names in the industry and having very desirable talent. If you end up filling your model schedule again, like it was, let me know. We'll have to replan some things depending on that. Nano says, thank you for understanding my side. We were all trying to have our names somewhere. Just don't take this personally or anything. I still love working with you guys. And again, I apologize for troubles on your plans. I will still revisit my list and see what I've got. And Red says, business is business. If you want to go through the projects we talked about, let me know which ones you want to do. And then in response to Nano stating they don't want to take sides about drama, Red says, is this about Anon's model? And Nano says, yeah, I want to take it, but I don't want to disrespect Sinder. I just want to do pretty models. No hurt feelings. Red says, business is business. Red says, Nano, you're a freelance artist and Anon is a longtime client, so it makes sense to continue doing work for her. I understand the logistics of it. At the end of the day, you need to do what's best for you. Nano says, I really appreciate for understanding my side. I do understand your side too, but sadly, it's something between you two, not me. I shouldn't get involved in this fight. I just go art brr. Red says, right, I know. I didn't think our convo sounded like I was trying to make you not work with her or on a model, like Anon specifically. Nano says, maybe I consider the situation too much, my mistake for thinking this way. And Red says, it's okay. And Nano says, but are we good for real? This feels like a weird breakup, I'm stressing. Red says, me and you are good, but I still have to tell all of this to Sinder. It'll be fine, don't worry, I think she's still sleeping. Damage control, making sure none of this reaches the other VTubers and is all kept hush-hush, while also providing proof that they know what they do is ill-intended and it should not get out, as it would cause issues for Sinder's career to be painted in this light. Note that the uncalled shot at VTuber 1 is even spoilered, a hidden message in Discord, so it wouldn't accidentally be leaked. Oh, Luna, yeah, we just started. So this is also November 2023. Nano says, I try to be transparent as much as possible. I think it's more fair for both sides. So Redacted said, you didn't tell VTuber 1 you canceled because of Sinder, did you? And Nano says, no, I told them it was health issues. I would never blame anyone besides Anon. Red says, LOL, we never wanted to make you feel like we're making you or forcing you to work on or not work on something, especially if something you want to do or don't want to do. And our convo the other day wasn't meant to convince convince you of only doing Cinder's work. Again, sorry that it sounded to you like I was telling you to only do Cinder's work. I'll respond to you later. Which, like, again, what is this backtracking and narrative correction that Red is doing here, right? Red is literally trying to rewrite the narrative. Red says, well, let's see if Anon wants a Nano model or not, and hope Anon finds somebody else. And Nano writes, the constant obsession with VTuber1 claiming that she is asking for it by causing this unspoken competition, which is coming from absolutely no one besides Cinder herself. So this is a little bit earlier. This is a message from Redacted, July 19th, 2023. So Red says, I think it's more like wanting her to recognize Cinder, even though it doesn't matter. I feel like there's this unspoken competition between them, like they need to one-up each other because VTuber1 can't get along. But I also understand her point of view. A new VTuber who people say looks, sounds, and acts like you becomes just as successful as you in a year. If she did recognize Cinder as an equal or a friend, then it would be like she's endorsing her copy. Or like I've seen some people say her replacement. They share a lot of the same audience too. Like at the end of the day, it isn't about how much we make compared to her. We just want her to recognize, hey, Cinder's a big VTuber too. She got there on her own merits, just like you did. Get along. And the marketing potential and money they could make if they teamed up. I just know anything we do, she's watching and will take from or try to outdo. OMG, know the spinning figure we have on stream? VTuber1's figure was announced on Wednesday. No spinning figure. Cinder debuted Saturday. Everybody hears about it. Figure announced. Spinning figure on screen with exclamation mark figure right next to it. VTuber1 stream yesterday. First stream since Cinder's debut. Guess what? Spinning figure with exclamation mark figure next to it. Then, like a month later, unfollowed her on Twitter and started taking her ideas, Cinder's ideas, like the flames. And now she's basically rebranded to more of a fire Cerberus, using fire emojis all the time, SMH. Never did that before. It's funny because she used to call herself a hellhound, but stopped when Cinder grew past her and now only uses Cerberus or Cerberpup or whatever her lore says she is. Nano says the unfollow was weird, and Red says, yeah, so like there was also unprovoked tweets from her like, quote, I didn't copy anyone else for my design is all me, this is who I am, end quote. Like, huh? Who are you saying that to? Oh, LOL, on random Cinder clips on YouTube, there was one dedicated VTuber1 fan or somebody she knew, I don't know, that would comment on these clips, saying like, when are you gonna clip VTuber1? Only on Cinder clips. And Nano writes, I'd like to highlight the irony of expecting to be entitled to recognition for her own efforts and size when her own active efforts are tied to sabotaging this very same VTuber. Also feeling entitled and insisting to be recognized by someone else is odd. Thanks for taking the time to read through everything. I hope everything makes sense and everyone who has been hurt, manipulated, or sabotaged by her will find closure. Again, this reads to me as a lot of projection and insecurity, you know? Like, what do you mean? All we want is for them to acknowledge that Cinder's a big VTuber who worked really, really hard. Like, are you 5? Like, are you genuinely a 5-year-old that wants a praise and a lollipop and a head pat from your mom for like, I don't know, finally being able to like catch a baseball today? It's just weird, bro. Just so many icks, man. So in the comments of Nano's post, we have a bunch of VTubers showing support. So Shylily writes, we will always be there to support you no matter what. No one deserves to go through this. Your feelings are valid and we'll make sure to heal from this. I'll always have your back. And Contel writes, it took a lot of courage to speak up about this, Nano. I hope you're doing okay. Thank you for doing the right thing and sending you so much love. Next up, literally 6 minutes after Nano dropped their doc, Bao drops their document also, and Bao writes, I was very hurt by somebody I thought was a friend. So this is Bao's document. Bao writes, hello, this is Bao. I will only speak to what Nanolist has decided to share with the public and the messages that directly mention me by name. I would like to kindly ask everyone to refrain from turning this into a witch hunt and remember that we are still humans at the end of the day. Before I start, I want to point out why I'm addressing both Cinder and Redacted, aka Red, despite the messages being largely from Redacted. Many times throughout the messages, the words we, where, and our occurred numerous times. As someone who is close to and worked with Cinder for years, I have first-hand experience on how Cinder and Red collaborate, and the extent to which Red operates as her primary point of contact in her professional and personal projects. It is that experience that leads me to believe that all requests and messages sent by Red were both known about and improved by Cinder. In March 2024, I announced that one of my subathon goals was a live 2D model. So here we have the subathon goals, right? This was posted March 1st, 2024, and Sexy Mommy Live 2D model was the 10K sub goal. Nano was going to be the Live 2D illustrator. After she finished both the design and the base model sketch, there was suddenly back and forth on whether or not she had the physical and mental capacity to continue my model. I was very sad as I had not only teased a screenshot of the model sketch on Twitter, but I had grown very attached to the design and showed it to all my friends. In a private group chat that Cinder was part of, I shared how devastated I was, and she did not comment or say anything despite others in the group chat comforting and reassuring me. I now realize that the reason for for her silence was because Cinder and Redacted were deliberately sabotaging ongoing commissions and blocking VTubers such as myself from having access to art from Nano. So here are DMs on January 15th, 2025 between Red and Nano. So Red says, what about we can pay Redacted for you and you don't have to discount it from the next payment. And we'll continue giving you lots of model work. And we saw the screenshot, but it says you don't work with Bao and other VTubers again. And then here, we've already seen this screenshot as well in Nano's doc, where Red is basically talking about drama and tea. Red was saying with and then down in the bottom, Bao is mentioned here, where they say also one of Bao's music video editors is the one that did Boss Rush, and we're 99% sure she told him not to do any more with us. Because remember, Red and by extension Cinder felt like Bao was gatekeeping their music video editor from Cinder and basically talking shit about Bao. So Bao in their document writes, Nano asked Redacted on why he's encouraging her to not finish my model. Red then lists my name amongst various VTubers as well as the vendettas Cinder and Redacted harbor against each. The points being, Bao has been getting on our nerves. She hijacked our YouTube editor, constantly picks up artists that we work with. Now she's barking up the tree of one of our live 2D animators. She guilt trips people. Bao writes, this is what Red lists as reasons why Nano should cancel her ongoing live 2D commission with me, all the while continuing to collaborate with me and pretending to be my friend. This is not what friends do. Friends do not sabotage other friends out of business opportunities. Friends do not spread lies to fuel selfish narratives. Friends do not use the private info they get from the privilege of being close friends to use it to manipulate others. If stepping on your friends and abusing your power and connections is how you get to the top, then I hope you realize no one will be left when you get there. Here are the DMs, right? This was again in Nano's document, but here you can see Red is actively asking Nano, oh, did you cancel the models? Da-da-da-da-da, like what's happening? Bao writes more screenshots of them urging Nano to cancel the ongoing live 2D commission with me, even mentioning how excited I was about it when I showed them the design during Cinder and I's concert at WeebCon in 2024. So this is August 5th, 2024. Red says, don't sell yourself short. I think she'd be fine with taking the design and finding somebody else. I wouldn't offer it for free, maybe half price if she starts shit. And Nano says, yeah, you're right. I'll talk to her today. We'll also close the model inquiry today. Opening that was a mistake. And Bao writes, quote, I wouldn't offer it for free, maybe half price if she starts shit, lol, end quote. I don't know what I have ever done to either Redacted or Cinder to deserve this level of vitriol towards me. I don't remember having any issue or any problem that couldn't have been solved by talking. Bao writes, regarding the messages where Cinder and Redacted openly accused me of stealing their YouTube editor, Boss Rush music video animator, as well as any artist they have worked with. So here's some emails between Bao and what looks to be the editor by the name of Kaiser, where Bao writes, hi Kaiser, nice to meet you. I was just watching your stream highlight from me and Cinder's collab, and I really loved your editing style and humor. I was curious if I could request a video edit from you every now and then if you have any availability. My username is Bao on Discord if you want to chit chat more there. Thanks again. And Kaiser says, hi Bao, I'd love to edit a video for you. I just sent a friend request on Discord. Bao writes, quote, she hijacked our YouTube editor, end quote. Their YouTube editor, Kaiser, is a mutual YouTube channel editor for both myself and Cinder. My channel manager, June, and I asked Kaiser for one stream highlight per month as we are aware of his extensive position as Cinder's channel manager. I made a point to note this in my inquiry emailed to him in 2023. So here we can see Bao called for 5 hours, March 20th, 2025. And Bao writes, on March 20th, I started a group Discord call that lasted 5 hours to hang out with my editors. In this group call, Kaiser shared with us that he was afraid to ask Cinder for a raise because he initially turned down an exclusivity deal. As a friend to both Cinder and Kaiser, I encouraged him to take the deal and reassured him that it would not change our friendship, as I would never want somebody I care about to miss an opportunity, even if it meant I would lose him as an editor. The other editors who were in call can corroborate this. I'm sharing this context because there are no words to describe the hurt and betrayal I feel now knowing that on the other side of this convo, Cinder and Red were actively portraying me as a thief and a detriment to their business. I have only ever supported them and their activities and have never once thought that I have somehow, quote, gotten on their nerves, end quote. Quote, Bao had original songs last year that had music videos by her editor and the songs flopped, end quote. So this is a message about Red. Red basically, we saw this already, but Red stated that the editor made some videos for Bao. All of Bao's videos flopped, but the editor worked on Cinder for Boss Rush and Boss Rush blew up. And Bao was mad. That's what Red said. Bao writes, I'm in shock and disbelief that this is the narrative they decided I deserved. Saying that I harbored an invisible jealousy because my songs flopped made me feel sick to my stomach. In late 2024, I was dealing with debilitating TMJ pain that resulted in me having to drain fluid from my jaw joint to open up my mouth properly. They both knew this. I've always wanted my friends to succeed alongside me, and I don't know how they could say these things while simultaneously weaponizing my most vulnerable moments against me. Quote, we're 99% sure she told him Sacramore not to do any more with us. Boss Rush music videos, end quote. So again, this was Red talking more shit about Bao, basically stating that Bao was like gatekeeping her editor And then, so this is the person in question, Sacramore, where they put out a tweet in December 2024 stating that they're going to close comms and be an in-house editor for Bao. And then Red said, quote, anonymously in-house, end quote, as in, quote, will never be credited publicly so no one knows who does this work for Bao, end quote. And Red says this literally reads as a hostage note. Quote, I asked to be anonymous since I like to separate from being known as a freelancer, end quote. No one does this. No one decides to do this on their own. This was 2 weeks after Boss Rush came out. In these messages, Sinder and Redacted are referring to my animator, Sacramore, whom I've been working with since 2023. And so here's the screenshot where their first convo is August 29, 2023. Bao adds proof of how long we've worked together. That screenshot. So Bao writes, in 2024, Sac asked me if he could go completely exclusive for me and work for me in-house with no credit in order for him to be able to quietly work on his personal projects and brand without having VTubers ask him for more comms. I was happy to accept. I want to reiterate that this was Sac's decision and no one else's. Here is proof of Sac mentioning he wishes to be my in-house animator directly to my channel manager, Depis, back in December 2024, refuting Redacted's claim that I locked him up due to Boss Rush's success. So here Sac says, yo, is it fine if going forward I won't be credited in video descriptions? Bepis says, okay. Sac says, thank you. I'd rather just be more in-house for Bao after this Redacted thing is done. It's the last comm I ever do for anyone besides Bao. And want to make a name for myself through my own content and not really my work for others next year. Why aren't you solving this privately? If you look at the timeline of events from Nano's doc, some of those messages date back years. I found out about this less than 48 hours ago, and they did not give me common courtesy of talking to me privately about this over those years. My thoughts, feelings, my most vulnerable, darkest moments that I shared in confidence with people I thought would be by my side years and years from now may have been used as information to ruin my chances to have the same VTuber model as somebody I thought was my friend, and I don't know how I can ever be the same about this. I would like to ask the community to refrain from spreading any harmful speculation. Everything shared in this document was done so with the express permission of those who shared it with me. I made this document with the intent to refute the claims made about me in the screenshots. Thank you for taking the time to read this. So in the comments of Bao's post, a lot of people were also showing love to Bao. So YFU Baby says, this broke my heart. You've always been so sweet and kind and genuine. You have always been that way on screen and off. I am so sorry this happened to you, and I hope you know you have all of our love and support. And Sare says, it's heartbreaking to see somebody you trusted work behind your back to sabotage your opportunities and relationships. You deserve so much better, Bao. Thank you for speaking up and shedding light on this. So the animator in question, Sacramore, comes out writing, feel free to read if you want, go show love and support to both Nano and Bao though, and Sac made their own document. So Sac writes, this is going to be very unorganized, but I'll try and keep this brief since I don't really think they, Red specifically, deserve any more of my attention after hearing what they have said about me and how working with them was. First off, to address this, and this was Red basically stating that anonymously in-house meant that Bao was unfairly trying to wipe credits from Sac. Sac writes, I asked Bao to go anonymous and in-house because I had been wanting to focus on my own projects for 2025 since I had spent pretty much all of 2023 and 2024 doing music videos for others and was having a lot of people and companies reach out asking me to work with and for them, and I'm not good at saying no to work opportunities. Since in general being just an editor is not a long-term sustaining thing in most scenarios, hence why a large majority either turn to becoming managers or their own creators with their own platforms. So I wanted to be left alone this year to work on other things than just editing for other people, which is why I wanted to be separated from my commission work since I do not like the idea of just being labeled an editor. So this is again the screenshot of Red saying that Bao was mad that her music videos flopped. Sac writes, me and Sinder initially discussed working on a music video project at TwitchCon. Everything was fine and friendly. However, the part that is stated as, quote, practically jumped through hoops, end quote, is, well, a bit of an overstatement to say the least, since they had asked me a significant amount of times to try to get me to work with them after I told them no multiple times, and it only said yes because they offered double pay. Because in the screenshot, remember, Red was telling Nano, oh yeah, Sac, the animator for Bao, yeah, Bao was mad at him and treated them like crap, but like Sac wanted to work with us so badly, they bent over backwards to like work with Sinder. And here's proof. September 28, 2024, like the week after TwitchCon, Red says, you wouldn't happen to be available for a music video in a week or two, would you? Sac says, ooh, I'm completely full every day this month, and the earliest I could do is November 9th. Red says, just checking, thank you. And Sac says, no problem, I'm 100% Down for one after that date though. And sorry to bother, but do you know the exact release date? Since I could try working something out to fit y'all in if you guys want. Red says by the 22nd. And Sack says, okay, is it alright if I let you know in 2 to 3 days? Then Sack says, hey Red, thanks for waiting. So I've been trying to figure out if there's any feasible way I could slide Cinder into my schedule this month. Between moving in my new apartment this week and the Halloween album, 7 music videos, I think November 9th is the very earliest I can start. I'm very sorry. But if there's any projects after that date y'all would like me to do, I can lock y'all into my calendar 100%. Again, very sorry for the inconvenience. And a day later, Red says, how long does it usually take for you to edit a music video? Zach says, depends on complexity and length, optimal would be a little over a week or 2, I guess for rush. And Red says, how would you feel about me giving you everything for the music video now, work on it in between your other projects, and have it to me by the end of October? Zach says, I really would love to be able to squeeze you guys in absolutely if I could, but I genuinely don't have any days free until November 9th at the earliest. This month and the start of November is literally just an ass beating for my schedule. And Red says, okay, thanks though, Zach. You're missing out on a good one. And so that was October 4th. Then October 23rd, Red says, when were you free again? Things have been pushed back. Zach says November 9th is my last music video for Bao until the first week of December, I think. When is Cinder's coming out? And Red says, when it's ready, LOL. Zach says, LMFAO, I'll probably start on it a day or 2 after I wrap up Bao's video in that case. Red says, this song has a lot of typography. Is that something you're good with? And Sack says, can I hear it? If not, no worries, so I can get an idea. And then about the typography, Sack says, yeah, is it in English or Japanese? And Red says English. Red says lots of animated text with different fonts. And Sack says, yeah, it's fine. Is it just one still image she's using for the artwork? And Red says, no, I can send you more details in a week or 2. And Sack says, yeah, that should be good. Just hit me up when you got more info, but I'm super down. So on November 12th, Red says, are you available? Sorry for getting back to you so late. Sack says, all good, still 100% down to do it. I would be able to start like 1st or 2nd week of December for a mid-December release if that's okay. Red sends like a skull SpongeBob emoji and says, we were hoping end of November release. And Sack says, that's impossible. And they say, like I said, I'm still super down to do it and really hope to be able to work with Cinder on the video, but my schedule is always super packed and fully planned weeks and months ahead without much wiggle room. So let me know what y'all were due or feeling. And then Red says, what if we pay you double? Red says you can send the invoice to Redacted whenever, we'll get it paid ASAP. And Sack writes in the document, also, I'm not sure what they're on about Bao not knowing about me working with them, since I asked Bao with Cinder and Red standing right next to me at TwitchCon if it was fine, since I had agreed to do all the Halloween album but would probably miss one of the songs, and she had no problems with it. So then on November 29th, Sack drops the video, and in the doc, Sack writes, also the stream was pushed back for the reason of, quote, the video wasn't done yet, end quote. Song was going up at 2 p.m. if I remember. However, this part got really under my skin due to the fact it was just straight up not true, and if something goes wrong in the video production line, no matter who's at fault, the blame will fall back to the editor or animator pretty much every time. I'm still not sure why the stream was pushed back. So it felt as if I was getting passive-aggressively blamed publicly on stream in front of thousands for the lateness, and it really upset me since the video was not late. Even under a very tight deadline where I did not receive all the artwork until the 18th, the full first master on the 19th, and was asked to also make a teaser version as well as an ad for the end of the video for their merch on the 21st, which I was not informed of at all prior to planning. I had also skipped going home for Thanksgiving after having a family member pass to get this video done and rush the hell out of it. Entire video was done from scratch in a little under 2 weeks, since there were quite a few both visual and audio assets I did not have at the time that even remotely resembled what the final product would sound like. So I felt this was an attack on my work ethic, which is something I take quite a lot of pride in. I mean, editors and animators have their own style, so it could be true that Cinder really likes Sack's style, or it could be because they were trying to poach Sack from Bao. We'll never know, but I see your line of thinking. Sack adds, I did not receive the merch assets until the 27th as well either. Wow. Sack works so fast to not have all the assets till really late, and they cranked the video out in like 2 weeks. Crazy. And here on November 29th, the day Sack sent the video over, Red says, you did nuts, everyone loves it. Thank you so much for grinding this out, Sack. The fans are gonna go crazy for the song, I swear to God. If there's time to make any edits to it, Sack, I don't know how long this would take to render. During the choruses, the shot of the girls can be zoomed out a little more to show more of them. Vienna's verse is gray, black, and white and should have more blue tones. Athena 22, Tricky has pink eyes. So basically, they add a bunch of stuff they wanted changed, a lot of timestamps where they wanted the desaturation filters removed a little bit, and they were asking for a trailer. And then on the same day, Sack sent over all the changes. In the document, Sack writes, even with revisions and all the extra trailers, the video was completed and delivered on time with enough time for YouTube to process the 4K version. There's probably more that I should clarify since I'm aware this is unbelievably poorly organized, but I'm very tired and don't feel like giving any more energy to these people. If there's anybody who have questions for me, just send me a DM. Everybody in the comment section was showing love to Sak. Here we have Sunwong writing, the way your words were twisted when you just wanted to stay peacefully in your own lane, ... I'm so sorry for everything y'all were put through. But there's more. So next up we have Rain, or Rain Does Stuff, who is a voice actor who writes, fuck it, my experience with Tashi/Cinder. Trigger warning, cheating. So Rain writes, hello, thank you for taking the time to read this document. The events described in it happened about 4 to 5 years ago, before the first Cinder debut. I understand there will doubtless be accusations of me clout chasing by revealing them. However, I want to corroborate Nanoliss's assertion that she is not who she appears to be on the surface, and confirm that no matter how much damage control she does, she is just as responsible as Redacted. The beginning. Cinder and I met when she was still running her Tashi.mp3 YouTube channel, which is why all the following screenshots will show her as Tashi rather than Cinder, and that will come up later. At the time, she was only just starting her account, and I already had my own ASMR roleplay channel with around 8,000 subscribers. And as a bigger channel than her, she couldn't wait to work with somebody as talented as me. So, screenshot from Tashi, October 5th, 2020. Tashi writes, or Cinder, you'll get there. It's still hard for me to believe that somebody so talented likes my voice enough to want to work together. We never ended up making any content together, but that didn't stop us from talking pretty much every day at the time. And eventually, she found a new way to make me useful. Rain writes, oh dear, pretty much immediately, she was flirting with me, despite, as you can see here, having a boyfriend, and both of us knowing she had a boyfriend, including regularly talking shit about him to me while telling me how great it would be if I were to replace him. I understand that I'm no angel in this myself, but hey, at least I can be honest about it. So this was March 6, 2020, where Rain says, besides, you said it's hard when your boyfriend is far, far away. I'm not your boyfriend, am I? And Tashi, or Cinder, says, no, but how nice that would be. You're perfect boyfriend material, heart. So Rain says, oh, so you want to go at it behind his back? How sneaky. Cinder says, hi, honey. I've been talking to this guy about how badly I want him to F me since you wanted to buy a personal enjoyment tool instead of giving me any attention when I'm needy. And Rain says, fucking F, dude. Why would you even need a personal pleasure tool when you have a girlfriend? I'm just trying to censor this for YouTube, guys, by the way. Cinder says, he sent me a screenshot a couple of weeks ago telling me he was getting one and had the nerve to use it in front of me to show me how great it was. Wow, yeah, must be great. And Rain says, yo, what the F? That's like inviting you to a chatterbait room so you can watch me screw somebody else in all the ways I said I wanted to screw you. Cinder says, isn't that great? And Rain says, I'm very slowly not feeling as bad for him about all of this, because it did honestly leave a bit of a bad taste in my mouth that this was all happening when you were taken. But then, yeah, that's a bit. Did you tell him that it was screwed up and hurtful to you? And Cinder says, he asked me if I was okay with it, and after I explained how I felt, he told me it was too late to do anything about it because it shipped, and he kept it. Rain says, I mean, far be it from me to give you advice. It's your relationship, and the only ones who can decide what is and isn't okay as you two, but that just sounds really sketchy to me. And why did he ask if you were okay with it after he bought it? Well, all I'm gonna say on this, two wrongs don't make a right. As much as I enjoy the smexting, it's really not right if you still want to be with him. I would either try to reconcile with him and get what you need out of the relationship and step back from me a little bit, or maybe consider taking a break. And I know the last part sounds effed up coming from me, but I swear on my life, I'm not being scummy about it. It's really my opinion. And Cinder says, I've just been really stressed about everything, and talking to you makes me feel so much better. I don't want to lose what we have, but I'm such an awful person, I don't deserve it anyways. Rain says, I don't believe you're an awful person. I believe you're stressed, you're emotional, and you're looking for something to make it better, which happened to be me when he wasn't helping. Listen, take a break from what we have for a little bit and see if you can get something out of him first. You can't really have both of us. Plus, it wouldn't be very fulfilling to me to just be the other guy in this scenario and not get the full relationship experience myself. You can do it, sweetie. I believe you can, truly. And Cinder says, I'm so sorry. I don't know what I'd do without you. Rain says, I'm not saying to stop talking to me completely. I'll still be right here to support you, whichever decision you end up making. And Cinder says, I love you so much, I don't know how to thank you. In the doc, Rain writes, despite what was evidently nothing serious for her and just a means of keeping herself occupied, she felt the need to keep stringing me along with proclamations of real love, which again, I was silly to have believed in the first place, but still. Cinder writes, regardless, I'm always gonna love you. For obvious reasons, I won't share any of the explicit smexting, not just because of the NSFW nature of it, but also I don't think it helps. However, note that this all went on for several months and included more than just text, as both the date and context of the following screenshot proves. So September 9, 2020, Rain says, I mean, it looked like something was going on there either way. And Cinder says it's called self-pleasuring, dear. I could probably say this on YouTube, but I'm just not trying to get demonetized, you know? Rain writes, one reason I felt it important to share these details in particular is because I never found out if Red got told about what happened, especially not in full lucidity. The primary reason I've held on to all of this for so long was an itching feeling that Red never fully knew, and it always felt like it would be unnecessary drama, so I left it alone. But now seems as good as a time as any. Red, if you're reading this, I'm sorry for all that happened back then, I really am. But given the actions you two have taken together regarding other VTubers, I still think you're perfect for each other regardless. The end. After Cinder got done using me for fleeting sexual gratification, our convo slowed down, exasperated by the Cinder character coming into fruition and finding immediate success. I stopped making content for a decent length of time by then, and thus she no longer felt she could ladder climb from me. So, a year later, so this is March 7th, 2021, Cinder on the Tashi Discord says, hey, what was your exam for? Haven't been on this account in super often, so I missed a bit. Rain says she made a new group chat without me. I kid, but yeah, there were entrance exams for uni. And Cinder says, nice, congrats on passing them. I've been on the VTuber side of things, working with commissions and whatnot. And Rain says, what? And Cinder doesn't want to be my friend, only Tashi does? And Cinder on the Tashi account says, it's just easier not having multiple ongoing convos. Rain writes, until eventually she stopped using that account altogether and committed fully to Cinder, and I never heard from her again. Something I was uncannily aware would happen even back then. And here, Rain, October 2021 says, I'll message you at this time in 2022 and you won't even remember who I am. And Cinder says, I'd never forget you. And that's pretty much it. This isn't meant to be a witch hunt. We all make mistakes, including me, as I've shown in the same document. But it felt like a good time to get things off my chest that have been on it for half a decade now, and to finally get some closure. Even though I know how bad I look alongside her. She's an opportunist wherever she can find a way to be, and she does not care what happens to the people she springboards off from. I can only hope she takes this all as an opportunity to change and grow as a person. And I'm just gonna throw this one to the end because it's kind of funny for me to see in retrospect. Okay, thank you for reading. And the message from Cinder reads, don't forget about me when you become a big, popular YouTuber. This one is interesting. Wow. You could look at this document and feel like, oh, it's like unnecessary drama hopping and people like, you know, coming out with shit but coming out. This is just something that happens every time somebody gets called out, especially somebody who feels untouchable, like Cinder, right? Where, to be fair, there was really no point where Rain could have come out with this document prior because everybody would call him a clout chaser because Cinder is just a big VTuber. So it makes sense as to why it's released now. Now, some people would feel like this is not relevant to release point blank period because it's not relevant to the conversation, which that is debatable, right? You could argue that Cinder potentially cheating because again, cheating differs relationship to relationship depending on the boundaries you and your partner set up, right? For some couples, like viewing explicit material on the orange and black website is considered cheating. Some couples literally do not care. Some couples, they don't view kissing other people as cheating, but sleeping with them would be considered cheating. So it's within the boundaries of your relationship. Personally, in my relationship with my boyfriend, if he was doing this stuff to somebody else, I would consider that cheating, and he would too. But I'm not in Cinder's relationship, so maybe their relationship has different boundaries. I would say though, this drama around Cinder is a question of her character, her and her partner's character. I do think coming out with something like this is in a way relevant to the discussion of her character because it does, like what Rain said, paint a more fuller picture of who she seems to be as a person. We'll never know who she is because I'm not her. I am not friends with her. I've never spoken a word to her in my life. If your character is questioned, people will come out to vouch for your character and people will come out with things to talk about the other side. And this is the other side. And then somebody says, not to question its validity, but can I ask why its last edit was 2 years ago? It's last modified November 2nd, 2023. And Rain says it wasn't. And you can see all versions of the doc April 26, 12:59. And here Claude writes, despite validity and honesty about your own part in this, you deserve far more respect than what was shown in this doc. Thank you for bringing more of these things to light and for sharing the truth in a community that is so riddled with lies. We need more people like you. So cheating is always a really tricky situation. I do not condone cheating, but I can recognize that there are situations where you're in an abusive situation and you cannot leave. And the only way you can leave is by cheating. I know people personally who have done that. And while I don't condone cheating, I completely understand why they did it. So here we have another VTuber coming out with their side. This is Spite, and this was posted today. writing my experience with Cinder, and they posted a document. So Spite writes, I only want to start by saying please don't send hate to anyone involved in this. I only wish to speak about my experiences and give more clarity on those experiences. First and foremost, my love and admiration goes up to Nano for having the courage to bring this to light. Artists are the backbone of our community, and taking advantage of her good-willed personality is saddening to see. I want to take the time to address what has been brought to light involving myself and what I've experienced over the years that coincide with these events. In the screenshot, the VTuber that is being talked about is very clearly me. Since the beginning of my VTuber journey, it has been written in my backstory and lore that I'm the daughter of Cerberus, and through an unforeseen summoning mishap, the Greek goddess Hecate. As many may know, Cerberus is a species of hellhound, and I've always incorporated the number 3 in my designs to follow the 3 heads of Cerberus. In my early designs, and when artists were still learning new model and rigging techniques, I had opted for 2 other wolf heads on my shoulders as pauldrons to symbolically represent my other 2 heads. However, the repeated comments of, quote, if you're Cerberus, where are your other 2 heads, end quote, had pushed me to use the broader term hellhound at the time. Fast forward 2 months into a year into my journey, and I started to receive harassment and berating comments and chat messages on Twitch and YouTube videos comparing me to Cinder and putting me down for being a hellhound. Making the definitive switch to the Cerberus label brought me a sense of relief because the last thing I wanted was to be constantly compared or harassed at this point. I didn't want to be associated with her due to all the negativity that was being thrown my way. So here, this is Red talking shit about that Cinder copycat, quote unquote, VTuber, right? And now we know this is about Spite. And Red is talking about some stuff like unfollowing, taking Cinder's ideas, flames. So Spite writes, as for the claims of unfollowing her and taking her ideas, I debuted my 2.0 Live 2D model May 14th, 2022. And on that same day, she decided to post her debut announcement for her 1.0 Live 2D model. Leading up to this time, I didn't know who Cinder was at all. I had no idea she had fire in her ears or was another hellhound. The creator space is broad, and I still stumble across creators larger than myself that I had not heard of before. I never once stole her ideas. All I ever wanted is to try to be unique in my own way. So these claims that I was following her and then unfollowing and stealing ideas are absolutely baseless. So here we have Spite's debut on May 3rd and Cinder's debut May 14th. Her posting her debut announcement trailer the same day as my 2.0 debut seemed off, but I shrugged it off as a coincidence because things happen. However, this wasn't the last time something like this had happened. There have been multiple times where I have done something and either the same day or shortly after I was made aware or discovered later that something similar had been posted, making me feel like I was being watched constantly. I try my best to believe that it was coincidental and not ill intent on their part. There were many times when I designed an outfit that I was really excited for, but afterwards Cinder would release outfits or models with similarities to it. I didn't think much of it at first because it's normal to have some similarities or shared inspirations with other creators. The VTubing community is a huge space and similarities are normal. I'm not speaking to whether my designs were taken as direct references for hers. I'm addressing the need for the unprovoked tweets mentioned in the screenshots above and showing that I made the statements to make it clear that I was not stealing ideas. How can I copy something that was released tease revealed after my own? On July 20th, 2022, Mayu Live, my model mama, and I worked on a comfy goth girl outfit. I had rips in my t-shirt, a g-string, shorts, and spiked wrist cuffs. 2 weeks after, Cinder debuted a similar outfit. I included the earliest image that I could find of Cinder with this outfit. I received many negative comments about my design from people assuming I copied her when I debuted it 2 weeks before hers. I got called off-brand Cinder and just a bunch of horrible things. So this is the design. We can see July 20th, 2022 is Spite's design with the ripped shorts, the cuffs, the collar, and the shirt. And September 14th, Cinder posts it. A very similar outfit. Spite is not claiming they own ripped off jeans or wrist cuffs or the ripped shirt or the collar, but isn't it weird that, Cinder has been weirdly obsessed with Spite being similar to them. What Cinder is doing seems to coinky-dinkily lining up with what Spite is doing, you know? Then it just gets weird. Yeah, Cinder acting like she invented hellhounds. And this is something that so many VTubers have. To me, it's just preposterous. It's crazy, but it is what it is, right? Like, you don't own the concept of being a fire dog, okay? You don't own the concept of being a hellhound. And, okay, you could argue, oh, a fire dog is more unique, da-da-da-da-da. You know, people who like dogs, they're going to try to combine it with something. They're going to do, like, flower dog, water dog, fire dog. Like, it's one of the more common flares to go and add to a base design, right? Do you know how many made cat VTubers there are? Do you know how many pink flower cat VTubers there are, okay? Because flowers, popular. Cats, popular. Aspect plus creature. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, lewd kimono foxes. Oh my god, if I had a dime for every lewd kimono fox there is, Jesus Christ. I like lewd kimono foxes, don't get me wrong. Ari is my favorite League of Legends champ, okay? She doesn't really wear a kimono necessarily, but she is like my origin of, you know, beautiful fox in pretty dress, okay? It is what it is. Yeah, magical girl VTubers, demon VTubers. Oh my god, black and red demon VTubers. You know how many black and red demon VTubers there are? You don't own the concept of a black and red demon VTuber. You don't own the concept of a fire dog, okay? Because it's relatively common. Literally, I do not own the concept of blue hair and bangs with braids, okay? Jinx literally has that. It's not that big of a deal. People in the VTuber space will compare people, but that happens even IRL, okay? I just feel like VTubers do take it very personally because their design is very personal to them and it's their creation. I do get it. Do you know how many times I get compared to Lord DIY when I have blonde hair? If I had a nickel every time I got compared to Lord DIY when I was blonde, I would be fucking rich, okay? Now, no one really compares me to anything because teal hair with bangs is not really popular. I get a lot of Hatsune Miku comments. I get a lot of Jinx comments when my hair was more blue. Happens, you know? When my hair is darker, everyone says I look like Giselle from aespa. Giselle's beautiful as fuck, and I think y'all don't have eyes because I don't look like her, but I'll take the compliment. But you know what I mean? Happens all the time. Just don't take it personally. Is what it is. Move on. Obviously, if they're directly copying you, that is different, but that is clearly not what's happening here. Yeah, it literally happens all the time. Now, we can make an argument, people comparing people, it's kind of weird, you know? It's kind of weird to be like, you look like so-and-so, or you look like so, you know what I mean? Like, it is a little odd to always be saying that. That's a separate thing, but it will happen. And I feel like nobody with eyeballs would ever misconstrue you two together. No one would ever think that you are Spite and Spite is Cinder because the designs look so different. Just calm down. So in the doc, Spite continues, I discovered this merchandise that she used for Uwu Market and had to do a double take because of the gray-blue skin tone used in the art. Several people thought it was me and the similarities for this speak for themselves, I feel. Wait, this is Cinder? Okay, I thought this was Spite. How is this you? This looks like you. On April 29th, 2024, I designed a Greek goddess outfit on stream. I'm a Cerberus VTuber, so it fits my lore completely. I mentioned that I may or may not get a future Greek goddess outfit because it fits my branding. About 4 months ago, Sinder debuted a Heaven Okami-inspired outfit that was white and gold, resembling a Greek goddess. In the background for her debut, she also included Greek columns. At this point, I felt like nothing I could come up with would even be slightly original to me. I'm aware that nothing is completely original, but I still wanted my own identity. So here we have Spite. This is the Greek goddess outfit here, and then this looks to be the design they were doing on stream, and then Cinder's design. Exactly what Spite said here. Spite doesn't own the idea of a Greek goddess outfit, you know, whatever. But again, it's kind of weird that there's this VTuber that has these weird tabs on you that anytime you do something, they do it too. You know, it just feels uncomfortable. Spite continues, on April 20th, 2024, I debuted a new model from my model mama Ari VT. I got a hoodie with a cute design on top and had side bangs covering my eyes. On April 4th, 2025, Cinder debuted a sports hoodie with side bangs covering her eyes similar to me. Dude, what the fuck? Bruh. Even the side bangs covering... We could argue maybe y'all both like onesies, but if you then pull up with the side bangs too, you're being weird. No. That model was a surprise debut too? Man, that's just icky. Again, it's not like Spite owns the concept of a onesie, but all of these instances, Spite does something cool, Cinder's like, I want in. No, if you want side bangs for your OC, that's totally chill. Nobody owns the concept of side bangs. Don't find a VTuber and then copy everything they do. As in, if when they do a maid outfit, you do a maid outfit. When they do a Greek goddess outfit, you make a Greek goddess outfit. When they make like a swimsuit outfit, you make a swimsuit outfit. Like, that's just creepy. Spite in the document writes, there are some instances that I do not have screenshots of. For example, I remember posting about my first ASMR stream. The day that I was supposed to do said stream, Cinder plugged her ASMR channel. I thought it was a bit suspect, but I brushed it off. I don't have screenshots of the comments and bullying that I received from her community. There were too many that it became too much to keep track of, and just started ignoring them. Because I never wanted to save images of their words that hurt me. I didn't even want to read the harassing comments in the first place. I just wanted to be left alone and be happy in my own space. I received a DM on January 25th, 2023. I will not disclose who the sender was without their consent. The sender expressed to me they were getting bullied by Cinder and certain members of their community because she too had fire in her ears. I never responded to the DM because I wanted to stay as far away from this drama as possible. Anon says, hey, you popped in my feed and I can say I love the design. I have a rather odd question, I suppose. Have you had any messages from the VTuber Cinder regarding your design? This may seem out of nowhere, but I'm only asking because I made an OC a while back and I was accused by her and others of stealing her design because my dog girl had flame in the ears and her fans claimed that was exclusive to her design. It was this whole big ordeal on Twitter, so I wondered if anything similar had happened to you. I would like to clarify, I myself am not saying your design looked like hers. I was scrolling, saw your totally awesome design. When I saw the flames near and in the ears, I had flashbacks and thought to myself, oh no, so I guess this is my curiosity getting the best of me. I'm just very saddened and disappointed in this situation. I had my suspicions about this, but I never wanted to be a part of drama, so I kept quiet. I've also seen what happens when a creator stands up for themselves and receives major backlash, even if they're in the right, so I never voiced my concerns. I've always designed my own models. I've gotten inspiration from Cerberus with the chains and spikes, Disney's Hades, and because I call myself a goth GF, I was inspired by Sam and Ember from Danny Phantom, plus many other of our goth crushes that we've had growing up. I just focused on myself and my friends. Meanwhile, I had eyes on me the whole time. Knowing that I was being watched and talked poorly about really hurts, especially when they never attempted to interact with me. I did my best to go through and find what I could and get appropriate screenshots. It's crazy because I didn't know who Sinder was until she debuted her live 2D. I just wanted to exist peacefully as a VTuber and spend my time drama-free. I woke up this morning in shock. It's terrifying and hurtful to know that somebody could attempt to blacklist me when I've never even spoken to them. I hope going forward that no one else has to experience anything like this. Thank you guys for being supportive towards me. I love this community so much. Please go and give love and support to all of those who have unfortunately been involved in this situation. Please support Nanoless, who was brave enough to speak up, and the VTubers who were affected. Please support my first model mama, the wonderful Mayu Live, and my most recent model mama, the wholesome REVT. Thank you for taking the time to read this. And in the comments, everybody is showing love and support. Again, to Spite with Mystic Lights writing, I'm so sorry you had to deal with all of this. It's so unfair. And this is the final documents posted by Silvervale, and this was posted 6 hours ago, April 26th at 3 p.m., where Silvervale writes, my statement on Cinder and redacted. And they write, introduction, I shouldn't have to say this, but me putting out this statement is not a call or an excuse for anyone to turn the situation into a witch hunt. My intention for making a statement is strictly to give myself closure from the events of the past years and clarify how I was personally affected. I debated if I wanted to even say anything after being asked if I wanted my name in the original document censored, as the situation is much bigger than my personal experience. However, after finding out how wide and extensive the transgressions were, I feel the need to give clarity to my situation and how I was personally affected. Silvervale writes, I want to note, as others have, that though a majority of the messages are from Redacted, Cinder's manager, I find it impossible that he acted solely on his own intentions without Cinder's knowledge or consent, given the extent to which he has represented her publicly and professionally. Nano and VTuber1, in quotes. This is where Red was talking about the model exclusivity they wanted, and Red says, don't take on new model clients and don't make any new models and outfits with Silvervale again. So Silvervale was a redacted VTuber from the Nano's document. So here, Red says, we can pay whatever, don't work with Bao, anonymous VTuber, or Silver at all again. So Silver is now named. And so Nano says, oh, Silver asked for art, can we like add a little bit more? And Red says, we could do it. Like, when Silver asks for art, you tell her no, then tell us to buy another art piece. So you still get a job from it. In this document, again, Silver's name is now revealed, right? So Nano says, I don't want to take sides for drama. Red says, is this about Silver's model? And Nano says, yeah, I want to take it, but I don't want to disrespect Cinder. I want to do pretty models, no hard feelings. Red says, Nano, you're a freelance artist, and Silver is a longtime client, so it makes sense to continue doing work for her. So here is the conversation between Nano and Cinder, where Nano approached Cinder just to be like, hey, where Nano apologized for not taking the exclusivity deal that sucked. But Nano references Cinder specifically. I've never heard of this shit before. Trying to gatekeep your artist is wild. And again, exclusivity does happen in the art world, but you gotta pay a lot of money for it. But here Nano says, sorry, Cinder, for stepping back on the exclusivity deal. We've already read it, da-da-da. After all, Silver is still a client and it makes me anxious and destroys my mental to do this deal. I still love working with you in Red, but I'll understand if things don't work out because of Silver. And this was weird because this one was where Cinder was like guilt-tripping Nano. Cinder felt like people were comparing them to Silver. And Nano was like, I don't see the point of thinking about being compared to Silver. You're so much bigger already. You've done so much more. But I would never give Silver any priority over you. Da 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 da. I don't know how Cinder thinks that people are comparing them to Silvervale. It can't be. It's not a design aspect, I guess, because their designs are astronomically different. Again, this one just to me reads that Cinder is deeply, deeply insecure, and that instead of doing any personal work to fix their insecurities about themselves and their content, they're just trying to gatekeep their artists and people around them. So then they were apologizing, and Silver writes, I am VTuber1 in the screenshots provided by Nano in her document. I've been a friend and client of Nano for years, and seeing how she was manipulated and abused by Cinder and Red makes me livid. She is an absolute sweetheart and just wants her clients to be happy. It breaks my heart to see how she was treated treated like a tool and a resource to be used for growth rather than a talented living person, and gaslit into somehow believing that how she was being treated was okay. I am so proud of Nano for having the courage to come forward to the affected people with all of this and to let everyone know how they were being unknowingly sabotaged. I've spoken to her privately and want to be clear that I have no ill will or hard feelings towards Nano for her involvement in this. I urge people reading this to try and understand all the emotional manipulation on display and empathize with her situation. There is a lot I could say about how disgusting I find their behavior towards other creators in general, but I want to focus on my personal experiences. So Silver continues, Cinder and I. Discovering that all of this was going on behind the scenes has been gut-wrenching. I didn't know Cinder, we weren't friends, and we have barely talked. Even writing this, I do not understand what I could have possibly done to warrant this level of malice and cruelty shown. In our private interactions, I was as cordial as possible, but I just wasn't interested in associating with her professionally or being her friend. From the few uncomfortable interactions I did have with her, I had gotten the vibe that her primary goal was to climb the social and content ladder and grow her brand. I am fully aware how common that attitude is, and that's just how you grow in the sphere, but I personally don't have the emotional fortitude or bandwidth to have friendships for the express purpose of growth. For the record, I think it's fine to have that view and approach to content creation, but I also reserve the right to simply not vibe with someone. I would much rather not associate with someone at all than pretend to be their friend for the purpose of growing my brand. The only time I had actually talked to her directly was during my meet and greet at TwitchCon 2023. I had just finished my meet and greet, and as I was wrapping up, she walked directly to the screen to meet me and had somebody else take a picture of us together. I was not informed of this picture, asked permission for it, and only knew about it once I saw it on Twitter later on. So Cinder posted, stop by to say hi after my meet, Wolf Girls. And the photo is of Silver doing the meet and greet on screen and Cinder is standing. For me, I'm not a VTuber, right? But I have an editor. I don't gatekeep my editor. You guys all know who he is. It's Impactron. People are like, oh, is your editor taking more clients? I'm like, go ask him. I have literally told other people, reach out to my editor if they want to work. But my editor has told me that he prefers to work with only me. But if you want to shoot your shot with him, good luck, right? I always want my editor to have more work. So I'm not mad about it at all, right? If my editor has more work and can make more money, that's great. So here are some DMs between Silvervale and what looks to be a manager or something. And basically, Anon says, also, Cinder really loved meeting you and wanted to collab, so I told her I'd let you know and I could throw you guys into a group chat if you were interested. This is October 22nd, 2023. Silver says, hello, I appreciate the sentiment, but I prefer to not do collabs. Anon says, no worries, I hope you're having a good weekend. Silver says, oh, thanks. I'm trying to just busy and a lot of IRL stuff coming up. Sorry for not being interested in collabs. I like to do my own thing, but I'm always open to messages. I hope you had fun at the con and everything went okay. After the meet and greet, she contacted my manager at Mythic to ask me to collab with her. I told them I would rather not collab, but accepted her request on Discord after turning her down. In private DMs, she reached out and asked me to do merch or other various forms of collabs to be monetized, which again, I declined. I will always prioritize my mental health and peace over any potential profit that would make me feel used transactionally and put me out of my comfort zone. So here Cinder DM'd Silver writing, hi Silver, sorry for getting back to you late. I've been super sick from TwitchCon. I guess a lot of us got sick after the last couple of parties. I hope you had a good time at your meet and greet. It was nice to see you there. But yeah, no worries if you don't prefer to stream together. My manager suggested something more like sponsorships, merch, music, or some kind of other project together that maybe Mythic could help with if needed. I'd love to chat more either way. And Silver says, no worries, it's been super hectic and busy for everyone. I hope you're feeling better. I'm really flattered by the persistence, but I'm not interested in transactional relationships with anyone. I hope you can understand. So this is now DMs from Redacted. And then this is on July 19, 2023, where Red says, at the end of the day, it isn't about how much we make compared to her. We just want her to recognize, hey, Cinder's a bigger VTuber. She got there on their own, and the marketing potential money they could make if they teamed up. We've already talked about this in Nano's document, but Silver was the redacted VTuber here. Something about the spinning figure. And this was the weird one, remember? Remember this one where Red was like, we just want Silver to acknowledge that Cinder is a big VTuber who worked really hard to where she is on her own. This was the one where I was like, why does it feel like Cinder is like this 5-year-old child begging for head pats from their mom after, I don't know, putting together a 4-piece puzzle? So Silver writes, I had a new live 2D model in the works for my birthday with Nano, which was eventually cancelled. I was devastated as Nano was the one who originally asked if she could do this model, because she was excited to make it with all the new things she had learned, and my birthday was special. At the time, the reason given was health and stress reasons, which made sense given how much was on Nano's plate. And despite my disappointment, expressed my support for her prioritizing health. I am now aware that the actual reason for her declining to work with me on my birthday model was external pressure from Redacted and Cinder. Words Words cannot describe how heartbroken I was and am. Nano DM Silver, November 17, 2023. Nano says, Silver, I have to cancel the model comm. I'm sorry, my manager told me I have to cancel the most comms possible for health reasons. I've been working too hard and it's getting to me. I really apologize for the convenience. Silver says, I was looking forward to it so much. I love your art so much and been so excited for a new model from you. I understand though, you have to prioritize your health and taking care of yourself. I hope your health improves and you feel better. Make sure to get lots of rest and relaxation. Do you know if you would be able to do it next year at all? Don't feel pressure to anything, just asking. And Nano says, I'm sorry, it hurts me a lot too. I just wish I could work on everything I could. But believe me, I can still go for your model sometime next year. Silver says, that's okay. I know you have a ton on your plate and can't imagine how stressful it must be. Do you think you can still do the GamerSupps tub art? And Nano says, oh yeah, illustrations are okay. So these were DMs between Red and Nano, and now we know who they were talking about. Where Red was gaslighting Nano, being like, oh, I didn't think our convo sounded like I was trying to make you not work with her. Silver specifically. And then here, Red was like, you didn't tell Silver you canceled because of Cinder, did you? And Nano was like, no, I told all of them it was health issues. All of them. More than one. And here, Red wrote, well, let's see if Gary wants a Nano model or not, and hope Silver finds someone else. And then Silver writes, I didn't think much of it at the time, but Cinder messaged me on Discord right before my model was canceled. She celebrated that we shared art, despite the fact that at the same time, she and Redacted were actively working to take the potential for more away. And Cinder literally DMs Silver saying, hey Silver, I got your GamerSupps stuff in the mail and it looks amazing. It's so cute that we both have Nano's art on our merch since she's both our model mama. You are fake as fuck. There is no way you have the absolute audacity to DM the VTuber you blacklisted from your artist, being like, oh, it's so cute that we have the same artist, ha ha ha. You are so fake. This is literally high school bully behavior. What the fuck? Bro, I don't know how old Cinder is, but you surely are not 15 years old, okay? We should have left this shit back in high school. Silver writes, moving forward, Cinder and Redacted have spent years sabotaging me for no understandable reason. I have never done anything to warrant this other than just existing as Silvervale. They actively sought to get my models and art cancelled, and based on the messages I have seen and shared above, seem to have not had any second thoughts about doing so. It's hard to express how crushing a feeling it is to be talked about so cruelly and maliciously without my knowing, and to know opportunities and friendships were taken away for what I can only assume is spite and insecurity. There is no end to the amount of anxiety I feel knowing that if these rumors were expressed to Nano, I have to assume they were expressed to others as well. I hope this document and the evidence presented will convince you that I am not the person that Cinder and Redacted tried to convince people that I am. Thank you for taking the time to read this, and I hope that any and all of the people who have been affected by this can get the closure and peace they deserve. So in the comments, Vebe writes, nothing but love for you and Nano. Gatekeeping artists is cringe, being fake nice to you about it is cartoonishly evil. And then in the comment section, Nano screenshots the message Cinder sent being fake as fuck about the GamerSupps thing, and Nano was like, I literally can't believe this. This is like a reputation hit that honestly, it's gonna be really hard to recover from, because literally nobody will touch you with a 10-foot pole. But here we have Giga posting, I just realized when an art project of mine was suddenly canceled. It seems to be alluding to something. We don't know, no, but it's weird. But we have more. Hold on. We have more people coming forward with little snippets of their experience with Silver and Red. We have this post by Vampeaches writing, I remember playing Phasma with you and hearing Red chat away next to you before you first debuted like 4 years ago. You told me he was your boyfriend. Then before we met for TwitchCon, you switched up and said, quote, just so you know, my manager is coming with me on this trip, end quote, as if I didn't know who he was. It's even ickier to read this tweet knowing he is your significant other and you're probably going to try and avoid taking responsibility for hurting people who trusted you as friends by nuking the Red side of this duo. Another person about their side, this is Niantiels, writing, do we remember when she sent her entire following to attack me because I made an ASMR roleplay with this Hellhound OC that was, quote, copying her, end quote? Or how about when she was actively liking tweets calling me names? Of course we don't remember because she made me delete every tweet regarding it after it happened. This mean girl behavior is not new. Smaller creators like myself were just intimidated into silence and pretending like it never happened. So here we have Hellhound ASMR. Here somebody posts, you're cringe, liked by Cinder. But yeah, this is weird as fuck, bro. Both you and your partner are liking a hate comment about a VTuber that's smaller than you for making an ASMR video with a Hellhound OC. Literally, you guys do not own the idea of a Hellhound. This is just literal high school bully behavior. And Niantel says, my heart goes out to everyone in this friend group who had to deal with this shit on a daily basis. I can't fathom the heartbreak they must be going through. And the commenter, John, says, apologies, I called you cringe. I have definitely changed my behavior since 2021, but you're still owed an apology. Best of luck with your career and prosper. Niantel says, it takes a lot of courage to learn and grow, bro. And Rogue says, so are you the other Hellhound mentioned in Spite's doc? Niantel says, indeed. Although the cherry on top is that I have never been a Hellhound VTuber or had a Hellhound persona. The character was for 1 to 2 ASMR videos. Me being attacked for a small project should have been an early sign that this would be an ongoing issue. I never wanted to put Spite on the spot, of course. Just know if I was alone in this or not. Then we have this post from Shiro Yoshi writing, if anyone is wondering about Cinder's Discord, they effing locked everything, like holy cow. This is absolutely a shithole after 5 mentions of Cinder's behavior, cheating, jealousy, backstabbing, and toxic BF. So yeah, she was like emotionally cheating on her partner and smexting another person while with him. Again though, cheating differs per relationship. Some relationships that's considered okay, most it's not, but there's that context. Wow, look at all the locked channels. Yeah, they locked down the Discord. All of these are locked now. You know, in open relationships, you can technically still cheat because cheating just means that you broke the boundaries set in the relationship. So in some open relationships, like you're allowed to be with people, but like you can't be with somebody the person knows. So you maybe go on a dating app and you meet somebody, but you can't like date their friend, you know? So if you date their friend, that's breaking boundaries, even though it is an open relationship and you would be considered cheating. But if you found somebody on Tinder, then that's not cheating. So yeah, in poly relationships, like you can cheat in poly relationships. Because again, poly and open relationship doesn't mean screw everybody that walks, okay? There's boundaries and then you operate within the boundaries. In some poly relationships, it's like you can be with somebody, but I have to approve them first. And so if you go and be with somebody without getting your partner's approval, then you're still cheating. All relationships are unique. I don't know the situation of their relationship, but from the context of the messages we saw about it, it looked like Cinder knew that what they were doing was inappropriate because they were like, yeah, I didn't tell him, or like, you know, they were like alluding to the fact that their partner doesn't know. And most of the time, if you're fucking around without your partner knowing, that means you're cheating. So Kiwi Cat writes, why would Cinder feel like her brand is threatened because her model artist works with others? They're all separate and gorgeous, unique models. None of this makes sense. It just reads as pure greed and backstabbing. And here we can see a whole bunch of gorgeous models that were made by Nano that are all really different. Oh, I didn't know Nano made this Iron Mouse model. Silvervale is in here, you know? And then I thought this was funny. Michael says, so I only casually follow VTubers, but you're telling me these aren't the same person. Now we have 2 models right here. And then Kiwi says, those are both Cinder models. Nano has made many Cinder models. It's common in VTuber culture to get 2.0, 3.0, etc. of your model. And Requiem says, they're literally the same person, different version of the model. And Momo says, Nano's work is absolutely amazing and they're all so very unique to each VTuber. It's crazy. Kiwi says, all of these models could be viewed individually by somebody outside of the VTuber sphere, and I am sure most wouldn't even realize they are the same artist. Even folks in the community don't realize the massive catalog and portfolio Nanolist has. They all look incredibly unique, high quality, and there is a reason she is highly sought after for work. Yeah, like I'm only loosely involved in like VTuber stuff. I didn't know Nano made all of those. I'm really glad that Kiwi like wrote this to point this out, because we need people talking about that weird backstabbing stuff that they were talking about. Like the weird like gatekeeping. If you make more models, you're gonna water down Cinder's brand. Like, don't be weird. So Meow Baby Meow writes, let me elaborate on how insane their proposal for this exclusivity would go, because it's legitimately diabolical. Although it's really stupid if they thought they could get anybody to sign a contract for this. So this reads, the terms are that they have 4-ish models working for Nano this year, and if anybody commissions Nano for a model or art, Nano would deny them and Cinder would commission Nano for it instead. Thus, Nano starts denying everyone and have Cinder commission her every time she gets calmed. This goes great for the few months or so. Nano quickly starts getting less and less people going to her asking for commissions because everyone starts realizing she's denying everyone. This also lessens the amount of times she can ask Cinder for a replacement commission for any money she would have made from other people commissioning her, because the terms state that Cinder only needs to pay if somebody else commissions her. Remember, outside of replacement comms, Cinder only has 4 models planned, that she already has a nude base of, plus maybe some art here and there, so let's assume, according to Nano's price chart, she spends about $30K in total a year for additional outfits and art, rounding up to $40K for good measure. That's still only about $19 per hour with a regular 40-hour work week for the full 52 weeks in a year. That's assuming Cinder actually plans on getting all 4 additional model outfits and designs. But I'm not even done because the number also assumes Cinder plans on going to Nano for art other than the replacement art for the exclusivity, because Cinder never states she could only commission Nano and no other artist. Cinder could very well just have 4 new model outfits done and slowly stop commissioning Nano for other art and commission other artists instead. So if Nano were to agree to this, after the first 3 months or so, Nano would be down to $20 per hour income if she's lucky. And even if she doesn't do art full-time and has other incomes, she would still be making significantly less than she would if she were taking commissions from others. And again, I have to say, the way exclusivity works is not like this. You pay to have them be exclusive. It is a lot of extra money, like I've explained earlier. Like, it is something that does sometimes happen, but not like this. And Hazumi writes, I cannot wrap my head around going out of your way to collaborate and be friendly with people only to berate them behind closed doors. If you have a problem with somebody you call a close friend, talk it out or distance yourself. To sabotage careers and work for those who have helped platform you is truly vile behavior. This is why I continuously say the community will never be what it was years ago. Simply wanting to support and grow alongside your peers is a rare commodity in VTubing nowadays, and it's hard to blame anyone for not wanting to branch out or even trust people anymore. And here is a result of this Cinder drama situation. Here we have Aura Culture. They're like a merch brand, and they posted, I feel like I have to say something. Staying silent doesn't feel right. Aura Culture was built on the principle of putting artists first. I can't in good conscience turn away when something so painful has come to light. Nano, I am so incredibly sorry for what you went through. No one deserves to endure that. I hope you're able to heal, and I hope this community becomes safer because of your courage. Going forward, I'll be removing the Cinder wrap from my Supra and discarding any remaining Cinder merchandise. The community exists because of the hard work and heart of artists, and it's important that we stand with them, not just in words, but with actions. I'm heartbroken and disappointed. It is hard to express everything I'm feeling. I run a small business, but I will always put my morals above all else. Thank you for reading, and once again, Nano, I am so sorry. The issue is, if you have a car wrapped with a very problematic person's face on it, people are gonna think you endorse them. So it goes beyond the money. Aura Culture is a brand. You don't want your brand associated with problematic people, point blank period. So if you drive around a car with a wrap of this person's face on it that a lot of people now hate, you're gonna run into issues with your brand. You may disagree with the way they've treated artists, but if you drive a humongous car with their face on it, people are gonna think that your words hold no merit. Here, another person, Soul, who is an artist, writes, this sucks. I know I'm a small creator and this probably doesn't affect much in the grand scheme of things, but going forward, I won't be drawing Cinder and I will not be selling Cinder prints and merch either online or at cons. I won't stand for fellow artists being manipulated or mistreated, no matter who's doing it. I'm gonna talk about GamerSupps, and the reason it's relevant is because GamerSupps has been in a whole bunch of drama. So Pixel posted, Cinder is a partial owner of GamerSupps, by the way. This company can't catch a break. Why is this relevant? Because GamerSupps is in so much drama right now. We have this article from Vice that was posted April 21st, written by Anna Valenz, titled, Why is this GamerSupps VTuber pushing the great replacement theory? This is something that I did not want to touch with a 10-foot pole because, God, this is gross to me personally. But basically, there is this VTuber by the name of Kirsch. I think I'm saying it correctly, Kirsch. I cannot pronounce her name at all. She is an extremely alt-right-wing VTuber with alt-right-wing ideals. So GamerSupps is owned by Jay Schlatt and has partnered with a lot of VTubers. One of the VTubers being Kirsch. Mythic Talents Kirsch, an anime fox girl with a knack for sharing alt-right talking points. So basically, Kirsch, she believes in the great replacement theory, which is a conspiracy theory of the alt-right, that white people are slowly getting replaced out with POC people. I try to see both sides. That is just asinine. She's also transphobic. She's been in a bunch of Twitter drama with another VTuber by the name of Nyara, who is a trans VTuber. I'm just gonna show you a couple of tweets, you know. We got this tweet. I don't even want to read this out loud, man. Once it's realized that most trans activists are, I can't even pronounce this, autogene-philiac males or ideologues pushing their political views with an identity shield to prevent criticism, all of the power-hungry threats and graphic murder fantasies make a lot more sense. So here, Asmongold says that every trans kid is a victim of a parent with mental illness. Kirsch agrees. You know, Asmon Crown. I literally don't understand how you can think the great replacement theory is real. So this is posted by Binted. Binted writes, Kershey has now explicitly stated her belief in the white supremacist Great Replacement theory. Here she is openly stating her belief that politicians in the US and UK are assisting in a hostile demographic takeover while ranting about the construction of mosques in England.
They're building like a 2.5 million pound mosque somewhere in like northern England that doesn't even have like a large Muslim population. And I was like, of course they are. Yeah, of course they are. I get increasingly angry when I see people who are just like, well, they're not doing anything illegal, so like you can't really be mad at them. It's like, this is very clearly a hostile takeover. Like, we're experiencing it in the US via illegal immigration. They're experiencing it in the UK via, like, the migrant crisis nonsense and refugees, which, potato, basically the same fucking thing. And it's like, our politicians are assisting these people with both demographic replacement as well as just making citizens' lives worse in general. They're changing the entire culture of these countries. It might not be a hostile takeover like you see in war. There's no guns and battleships and bombs, but it is still a hostile takeover.
You know what this sounds like to me? This sounds like somebody who is white as fuck is now mad that their extreme amount of white privilege is slightly diminishing because, you know, there are moves that are made to be more inclusive to other groups of people. And they just view it as an encroachment of their space or something. Like, God forbid that a mosque, a structure is built for people to worship just because that's not like your religion. Like, what does that have to do with you? Just chill, bro. Just don't go there if you don't want to go. Like, I'm not religious. There's a fuck ton of churches. I don't go because I'm not religious. It doesn't bother me when I see a church. I'm not mad if they build a church. Cool, right? I'm just not going to go there, but that's just my thing, you know? And she supports mass deportation. We've got this tweet. I was always happy with the mass deportations, but said for them to be effective long-term, Trump needs to get rid of the incentive to come here illegally in the first place. The mass amount of free shit given on the taxpayer dime. So then Kershey made this quote retweet about a post about Carmelo Anthony, who had killed a white guy and received 400K in donations. And then Kershey was spreading some fucking internet nonsense, writing buy large mansions to electric boogaloo, posting some gross memes that I don't want to be posting, that I don't want to show on screen. And then a day later, I'm just going to describe this to you because I don't want to show it because it's just fucking disgusting. On April 15th, Kershey made a tweet writing, "Who wore it better? Body cam edition." And I think Vice says it here. They were two side-by-side photos, it's really bad, of a screenshot grabbed from body cam footages from two separate instances, where there were like two photos of black people, one black man, one black woman, held at gunpoint by a police. And you can see the weapon in the body cam footage, and they have like really like shocked, scared expressions on their face. Yeah. And so the reason why this GamerSupps controversy happened is because Kersh is sponsored by GamerSupps. Then all of this started because of Kaio's tweet. So Kaio posted, "I decided to end my partnerships with GamerSupps because of certain creators affiliated with the brand who have expressed openly bigoted views without facing any consequences. I believe in fostering an inclusive community, and I do not wish to support or be associated with companies that enable harmful behavior. This is not the company that I want my community to spend money on." And Kaio adds, "I encourage fellow creators to think about whether or not their partnership with the company is worth continuing. I don't agree that it's a good idea to just, quote, let creators create content and try to do our best to make the best products on the internet, end quote, if it means allowing hateful people to be representing your brand." And then a lot of people were kind of like withdrawing from GamerSupps or discussing the situation because Kaio kicked it off with their public stepping away. They did explicitly name Kershey, but we all know what they're talking about. And then a lot of people were commenting this is this you. So Kaio had this post that reads, "Can't be racist towards white people, but of course somebody like you won't know that." I think this one is very interesting because we have comic writing. On a societal level, you can't be racist to white people as they are the majority and hold most, if not all, of the power. On an individual level, sure, anyone can be racist towards anyone on an individual level. The can you be racist to white people is a very, very, very nuanced conversation, and it does matter in which context you're also talking about too. It's a very hotly debated thing, but in my opinion, that is neither here nor there because people are just using that as a gotcha to try to deter the conversation from the point that Kaio is making. Regardless of that comment that Kaio had made a while back, the main focus of this is is still partnered with an openly bigoted creator. We have people actively looking to terminate their GamerSupps contract. We have Daito Modachi writing, given the new stuff surfacing about GamerSupps, I'll be looking into terminating my contract with them effective immediately. I enjoy their product but can't support them given their stance on certain issues. And then here we have Shygol VT posting, I'm shocked and disgusted at the amount of hate comments on Kaio's post, tearing down a creator for protecting their community. Nah, I stand with Kaio on this one. Goodbye, GamerSupps. The reason why I'm bringing this up, because it might feel like it's irrelevant. Well, it is relevant because, again, if we circle back to the original point I was making, Sinder is a partial owner of GamerSupps. So I'm not saying that Sinder shares the same political views as Kirsch, but it's not a great look for GamerSupps in this day and age. Then Sinder had put out a statement, April 26, writing, effective immediately, Redacted will no longer be managing or overseeing my VTuber activities. He will no longer represent me as a creator, my brand, or my intentions. I'm sorry, everyone. I will make a larger response when I'm able. Which, look at this. No way Sinder threw their partner under the bus. And here's what some commenters had to say. Grimmy writes, everyone's really pissed, but I think it can be easy to get into a weird mindset with this stuff. It might be good to take a step back and think about the friends you've made and how to make things feel happier with them again. Everything is temporary, but the good memories matter. Siren Renedy writes, quote, he no longer represents me as a creator, end quote. Bro, the problem is you representing yourself, not just your manager. Noxus Hades writes, you can pass blame on Red as much as you want, but she confirmed that you share ideas. And some even said you admitted to dating Red in the past. This is going to be a whole I'm sorry, but I had no control over my manager, yet you thought those things about Bao and others. And then I saw this. I just thought this was funny. It just made me laugh. This is posted by the ugly bastard writing, damn, imagine being strung along to basically be a free manager for years, then get dumped as a business move, LMAO. It's just interesting. I also think he's actually in the Kirsch photo. Oh, that's a separate thing also, but if you go to Red's page, Red, as of now, has not posted anything about it. There was a retweet about Sinder looking for music video editors. That's about it. Now, it's the next day or 2 days later, and there has been more stuff that came out. So reason why I look different, I day tripped the Bay Area to go to Stay in Bloom, and I got home about 30 minutes ago, which is why I look like this. So we're not going to talk about that, and let's get into more of the Sinder drama. So on April 26th, we have this post by Bella, who made this post for their own sanity, keeping a thread of all docs and tweets that have been dropped to their knowledge regarding Sinder. So most of these documents we've actually already looked at earlier, but this one I've missed. This was a post by Cottontail, who posted, this made my stomach drop to read. It makes me very sad to have things come out like this. Sending Nano and Bao so much love. So in that screenshot from Red, where again, this is the blacklist, Cotton was one of the redacted VTubers. So they posted a screenshot revealing their name. Then Bella gracefully also added this post as well from Jun Mitsui, who is Bao's manager. And the manager writes, hello, I am Bao's channel manager. And yes, I was there in the call with Kaiser, Bao, and Sak. And Bao encouraged Kaiser to take the raise. It was definitely something she thought would be best for him. Bao supported any opportunity or anything that Kaiser would choose to go. Then Bella also added another post from Vamp Peaches. Remember, so Vamp Peaches was the person that confirmed that Sinder was in a relationship and dating Red. But there was this post where Vamp writes, as somebody who has questioned their worth in this space the last 2 years because of the same person, this line hits very hard. It's difficult to know what to do when somebody you thought was your friend, who you are VIP in their Twitch chat, who you offer to help and comfort to, one day just acts like you don't exist anymore. You tell yourself you must have done something seriously wrong for a friend to treat you like that. Reading the documents that are coming out today is heartbreaking. My heart really goes out to Nano, Bao, and anyone else who has been affected. Although my experience is not as egregious, I still want to have my voice heard, since it has affected me a lot the last 2 years. I knew Sinder 5 years ago when she was Tashi.mp3 and stood by her like a true friend, even when she was being dragged by the ASMR community for misuse of other people's scripts. I supported her VTubing journey. I did everything I could to be a good friend to her. Then after meeting her at Paris TwitchCon, things seemed to change. I felt discarded. I felt like I must have done something wrong for her to ghost me all of a sudden. It's been painful to see somebody you thought was your friend constantly on your timeline, to be asked by your community who know you were good friends if you're ever gonna collab. I kept asking myself what I'd done so wrong for her just to drop me, like I meant nothing, but I guess now I know. It wasn't me. I was just one of the first people to be stepped on, and in hindsight, maybe it was a blessing that I was left behind. I don't write this for sympathy, nor do I want it. I just want my community to know where I stand on this matter, since it's assumed that we are friends. Once again, my heart goes out to those who have been hurt. So there was another document that came out by an artist, and this artist mentioned they didn't want to be added in the video, so I'll give like a little summary but not show their name or the document. Basically, they offered to make free art for VTubers in exchange for a shout out on stream, plugging their Patreon. So they emailed Cinder. Cinder responded in DM saying that they were interested. They made art for Cinder, and then somehow through the communication of art, there was some misunderstanding where the artist felt like Cinder and Red was communicating half the time. It felt like they didn't understand that this was a business deal where you receive art and you shout out the Patreon and show the artwork for a reasonable time. That's what the artist described. They never specified a length of time. And they felt like Cinder and Red were acting kind of some type of way, thinking that it was free art. And they were asking, hey, don't forget about the shout out, etc. And Cinder/Red was kind of like, oh, well, we feel like it's unfair to show the art on stream for like this long because it's going to be unfair to other artists. And the artist was like, wait, but like the whole premise of the deal was a business transaction. And they were very transparent about it from the start. But after this entire situation unfolded on April 27th, Cinder dropped their apology document. It dropped on April 27th. I have never seen a document get ratioed this hard. It's got 14k likes with 21 million views, and the top like comment is from Shylily with 100k likes. And this document is titled My Apology. The doc reads, there's nothing I can say to make this better, but I will try my best to properly convey my feelings, frustrations, and mistakes. I like to explain my point of view and apologize to each party affected. Redacted or Red has been my co-content creator since I began making content, managing all aspects of what I do and being a major part of why I'm here. We have also been in a relationship since the start of my endeavors. It's no secret that many VTubers choose to keep their public and personal lives separate, and I'm no different. As of yesterday, he is no longer working with me, and I have not extensively discussed any of this with him. Where our personal situation goes from here will be figured out between us privately. I never intended to mention us publicly, but given that the claims are out there, I want everyone to know why I'm taking this seriously. After years of working on everything together, his hyper-business-oriented outlook warped my view of what it is I should be doing, and what should be important to me as I navigate this career path. I have a terrible work-life balance as it is, and being around projects and streams all day, every day, made me lose sight of the point. It took all of this happening for me to realize this behavior isn't normal or healthy, and it's not an outlook I want to have. This doesn't absolve me of the things I've willingly done wrong and went along with, or the way I've treated people who are fully undeserving. Throwing in some 2 cents in here, it's the classic blame everything on the manager boyfriend and wipe your hands clean. Cinder continues, in regards to Nanolist, for the majority of time working with her, Red was the one almost solely doing the communication about new plans and negotiation through his private DMs. Nano had a project server we were all a part of where the actual art and models were worked on, but the convos are focused around the work itself. I was not fully aware of the extent of Red's manipulation over Nano's commission decisions, and I should have been more diligent in my oversight. Every time I had been told that Nano had agreed to work on a new commission with me, it had been willingly and with excitement. From my point of view, it was that she genuinely wanted to be working on these things. I wanted to work with Nano as much as I possibly could, making her art the face of my brand. We had come to the conclusion that it would be in my best interest to talk with Nano about making more time for my projects by negotiating with her to cut out other work. This was wrong for us to put out onto her, and it was wrong to the other creators who wanted the chance of working with her. There was only one specific creator we were responsible for naming and pressuring Nano into reconsidering projects with, not an entire list. Oh. So like the screenshots we saw were a lie? Of her own volition, Nano canceled a large portion of her model commissions last September. However, the claim that I was just using her is wrong. I've always treated Nano with respect and as my friend. I did give her a lot of work, and we did everything we could to accommodate her schedule if she needed more time or a break, and even helped her with her own project payments multiple times. I've invited her on my stream, I've sent her my merch and things she's made for me, and I was always open to talking to her about things outside of our projects in the instances we would message each other. Regarding the exclusivity deal made between them, I had no part in the direct negotiations of their eventual agreement, and I had no knowledge of Bao and Cotton being included in this list. If I had known my friends were included, I would have said something to put a stop to it. I was only aware of it being about one person who I was unfairly pursuing. When Nano had messaged me about this agreement almost a month later, I was under the assumption that this was only about Silvervale. I was upset, and my initial messages to her were very guilt-trippy, but I wasn't going to force Nano to do anything she wasn't okay with, and tried reassuring her that I was okay with her decision. Nano had also never come to me as seriously and professionally as her document was looking to address the issues she had with either of us, or to terminate our partnership. I had no idea there was even a conversation about Shylily recently between Red and Nano until reading her document. It's true I had confided in Red that lately I hadn't been hearing from Lily like I had in the past, and was worried something was wrong, but that's as far as it went. and he took it upon himself to try digging for more info. And I was never even aware Nano was planning to work on a model for another one of my friends, Giri. I do not condone anything about what Red said about Bao in these DMs either, and him using we and our in this context is abhorrently incorrect, and I believe was done to gain greater credibility behind what he was saying. Yes, Red and I were initially upset when Bao hired my editor, and I took it personally when I shouldn't have. I felt as if maybe my content wasn't good enough or like I wasn't paying enough for his work, but I accepted it and was happy for him for getting that bag and supporting one of my friends at the same time. And yes, I was also upset when Sack, the Boss Rush music video editor, had told us that he wouldn't be working on any future projects with us and would instead be working exclusively for Bao. But Red got it in his head that it was Bao's fault that it happened and seemingly held a grudge against her for it. He was very passionate about Boss Rush and the potential future projects around it, but he told me without a music video editor as talented as Sack, the future projects wouldn't reach the same heights. So he created this headcanon that's laid out in those DMs. I wasn't convinced this was the case, but it's my fault for never speaking with Bao about these things directly to clear things up, and letting it spiral to the point it got to. Every comment here about her own music, guilt tripping, and claims about our shared feelings towards her are disgusting, and I honestly don't know why he thought this way about my close friend beyond the resentment over those two things, or why it was worth sabotaging her over. The "it's just business" screenshot of my DMs with Nano's document was from November of 2023. Son, you're gonna get evicted. And I'll go into my thought process of everything I said here. What Red was trying to explain to Nano, if everyone had a model by her, then the innate value of her models overall are diminished by there being an oversaturation of that type of model out there. If everyone in the world had a VTuber model done by her, then the value of having her model wouldn't be the same as if there was only a handful of them, which he viewed as a negative for me. I understand where he was coming from with this, but in the VTuber space, this isn't something we should have pursued. Nano has an amazing skill where she's able to draw each of her VTuber children uniquely, so I was never upset seeing new model siblings. In many cases, I was there cheering them on at their debuts and looking to collab with them as sisters when I could. Me saying it's just business was referring to my acceptance of Nano's business decisions, whether she chose to work with me or not. This was not in reference to anyone's model being cancelled, further explaining to her that it's okay if she chooses not to work with me. I can understand where the next part can sound manipulative, but my intention was to reminisce about the journey we had together up until this point, since at the time I wasn't sure if this is where Nano and I would stop working together as frequently as we had been, and I have to look for a new model artist. Then I encourage her to work on projects she's excited about when I talked with Red to find a project that would work with her schedule. Stepping back, I feel like every manipulative person ever, when they get called out, says, "I see how this can sound manipulative." Yeah, because it is. Sinder continues, when talking about Silvervale, I need to start at the beginning. Before I was Sinder, I was a pink cherry blossom girl named Tashi that did ASMR content. When the VTuber boom happened in 2020, I knew I wanted to join in. Red and I contacted an artist in October, and they were set to start my VTuber design by December. The plan was to take my cherry blossom persona Tashi and make her a pink and white wolf girl VTuber. In November of that same year, Silvervale revealed her Sakura wolf redesign. I had heard of Silvervale earlier that year, but I didn't watch her streams at all. We knew we had to pivot before we were stuck with a design that would be a copy of one of the most popular VTubers at the time. Like I've explained many times on my stream, I knew I wanted to be a wolf girl, so I mixed my love of Okami and metal music into the design and came out with a hellhound. My name was originally going to be Ember, but Red came up with the name Sinder since it was a mix of both Sin and Cinder, both hell and fire themed. It was only a coincidence that it ended up being similar to Silver. I was genuinely interested in pursuing a friendship with her and drew fan art myself of us together. On the other hand, Red was in my ear the whole time saying how great us working together would be, since again, he's been the business-oriented side of my brand. Since I started streaming, I have been ruthlessly compared to Silvervale, being called the discount version of her. I was accused of copying her design, copying her personality, even copying her laugh of all things, and there was a large number of people who were diehard believers in the fact I stole all these attributes maliciously for my own gain, citing the art I posted of us together, calling her an inspiration, when in reality this was referring to the decision to become a hellhound. The only time Silvervale was mentioned in the original designing of my character was when we explained why we were pivoting to something else, and there were no references of her character involved. I grew more and more resentful of Silver over time, between the constant belittling of myself, a controversy around my first waifu cup, and other incidents, even though she herself never interacted with me directly. And it was also that fact that made me insecure. Like, I wanted to know if she believed all these things or not. It really felt as if she didn't like that I even existed in the same space. Taking a step back here. If Silvervale never directly interacted with you, never talked to you, never spoke to you, how do you know how she felt? Did she tell you, hey, I don't like how you're another wolf girl in this space? Or are you taking everything Silvervale does and twisting it into a personal slight against you? in your own head when there is literally zero external proof to prove this? Because if you have a preconceived notion in your head, the way you view the world will be different. If you think you're ugly, anything that happens, you're probably gonna think is due to you being ugly. If like the barista is mean to you, whatever, giving you a kind of like a mean face, you might think they just think you're ugly. In reality, maybe her boyfriend broke up with her that morning, you know? So if you exist in this space thinking that Silvervale hates you, even though she's never spoken to you, I'm telling you, this insecurity is bleeding into everything else. Like, why does Silvervale have to personally DM you, somebody that she doesn't know slash talks to clear your insecurities about something that she literally never did? It was not her fault and she didn't do anything. So the document continues. At the point I was working with Nano consistently, we brought up not making any more models for her. If a VTuber model is how everyone recognizes you, then it would be harder to compare us directly if we no longer look alike or have that shared similarity. It was a wrong and selfish decision, but it made me feel better, and that's why it was a constant topic with Nano. Red pushed for this harder than I ever did because he knew how it affected me for years, but no matter what the outcome was, I wasn't gonna walk away from working with Nano. Silver was completely undeserving of this treatment, and it was my own insecurities that led me to making this choice. I became unapologetically evil towards her due to no direct action of her own. There's no excuse for this. Moving on from Silvervale, let me talk about spite. Once again, I had no involvement or knowledge of Red bringing up spite to Nano in 2023. My only personal involvement with excluding someone specific from working with Nano was Silver. My design sheet and outfit were finished and made public at the very start of 2021. The first thing she mentions is a debut teaser in 2022 that was apparently posted on the same day as her original debut, which I honestly don't know if at the time this was intentional or not. I don't know when I first discovered spite, and it could have been after she debuted. When I first debuted, I was very possessive of my design details. I had made it a year and a half since my design sheet was finished and public to having a full VTuber debut as I watched everything grow and change from the sidelines. And I didn't want anyone else to capitalize on my concept before I could. Soon after my original debut, I remember Spite getting an update to her model that made it seem like she more closely resembled me, including fire added to her model. Without evidence, I saw it and thought she must have copied me, but I never did anything about it other than voice my frustrations to Red. I didn't want to start drama with anyone, and I didn't have ownership over fire as a design detail. The references for the ripped shirt and shorts outfit on my bikini model was given to Nano in June of 2022 with the purpose of having a cover-up outfit that would be safe for Twitch. The merch art she's referring to was designed around my concept of my fire changing blue. The fact that the rest of the art was grayscale was the artist's choice since it was going on the back of a hoodie and I didn't have a say. Or at least I didn't counter that being the final decision. There was no intention to deliberately look like Spite with this piece. Unfortunately, both my Angel and Sleepy outfits being similar to outfits Spite has done in the past was a coincidence. I had always planned to one day make an Angel counterpart to my Demon outfit when it was being made in 2023, and my original reference sheet laid the groundwork for that idea. I never liked theming anything around my brand in a religious light, so I chose to make my Angel form more Greek Valkyrie than biblical, which also gives it a similar look to my Demon form. The Sleepy outfit was a last-minute decision to pivot from a fully new 3.0 model because I had the opportunity to work with GamerSupps on an AFK flavor. Spite never should have received the hate comments over her outfit or any comments comparing us or belittling her because of my existence, and I never advocated for anyone to do so, especially given my experience. Spite also brought up another creator who reached out to her about her experience with me, and I can only assume it's Niantials. They are an ASMR artist who at one point posted a Hellhound OC for one of their upcoming ASMR videos, and it was undoubtedly created using me as a reference. This was right after my debut, and like I said, I was very protective of my design elements being unique to me, and I overreacted. Shortly after, I apologized, and they agreed to adjust the character design, and I thought the matter was settled. At the very start of my online career, I was a GFE ASMR artist. Before I started my channel, I had gotten into listening to roleplay audios myself. I had always been a shut-in throughout high school and college, and I wasn't happy with where my life and relationship were at the time. I believe GFE stands for Girlfriend Experience. After uploading my first few audios, my channel started growing fast. This was the first time I was inundated with so many people wanting to know me and talk to me, and I got lost in the excitement of it all, not fully coming to terms with these messages being because of the kind of content I was making. I was immature and inexperienced with how to conduct myself online. I have never had many IRL friends and had met Rain doing ASMR. I quickly became comfortable chatting with him about everything, divulging my grievances about my personal life when I shouldn't have. I cheated on my boyfriend with Rain in these conversations, flirting and sexting. I used Rain for emotional comfort and sexual fantasy while I let my real life relationship collapse. It was about my dissatisfaction with my personal life and escaping into messages with someone else who I found through content focused on girlfriend and boyfriend roleplay. It was never about climbing the ladder with Rain, and I find that being his takeaway from why I moved on baffling. By the time I was ready to debut as Sinder, I wanted to leave that in the past. Still to this day, I regret my decisions and have been living with it since, and I was lucky to be able to mend my relationship after at this. And lastly, I want to address peaches. This is a very big problem I have, and I'm sure many others in my position do too. At the end of the day, I am one person. I am one person working on multiple projects with multiple companies, talking to dozens of people, and streaming for hours almost every day. I never had a big social battery, and I get tired very easily when interacting with people. I haven't had much energy at all over the past year, leading to me taking frequent naps. I've rarely been able to keep up with my closest handful of friends on a frequent basis, let alone everyone else. Red has always been a big help in keeping up with things, but he doesn't do everything. I am so sorry I made you feel forgotten, Peaches. I've always cherished your friendship, and I was so incredibly excited to meet you in Paris. I'm so grateful for everything you've done for me, and I've never thought to purposely drop you just because I could. I'm sorry. I know I've made a lot of people feel forgotten or ignored. It is so easy to get caught up in projects or what I'm doing while I have the energy to do it, that people can fall by the wayside. I understand the feelings of those who resent me over this, and all I can say is I'm sorry. I don't deserve to be able to contact everyone involved directly to personally apologize, so I'll do it here in the chance they read it. To Nano, I'm so sorry I let things get to this point or even entertain the thought of you working exclusively with me. That's not fair to you. I wouldn't be here without you, and I wouldn't have been able to do most of what I've already done without you. I felt overly attached to our relationship over the past 4 years, and I loved your work so much that I wanted to make myself exclusive to your art, and should have never sought those feelings to be reciprocated. Everything you've ever worked on for me was always so perfect, and I lost sight of how everyone else around me would have felt. I had no intentions of pressuring you into anything, but looking back on my clouded judgment, I can see how my messages felt that way. When I talked about how my models helped you improve, I meant that as looking back on how far we've come together. We've been friends for so long and cheered each other on when we both started growing and getting more opportunities like plushies, figures, etc. You had been my exclusive artist for full live 2D models for the majority of my time as a VTuber, and of course I would have been sad if you didn't want to continue that relationship. But in all of our other private DMs, I was okay with you ultimately doing what was best for yourself. I saw you as someone I trusted and loved and wanted to make sure you were still taking care of yourself with all the projects you took on, mine or otherwise. I never saw you as just a business partner. I thought I was reassuring you that I'd always be understanding if you wanted to move on to other projects. I genuinely appreciated our friendship. I always saw you as a close friend, and I'm sorry for what I put you through. To Bao, since the start, I've always admired you and how genuine you've always been to everyone. I wouldn't be here without you either. I'm disgusted with myself for buying into the narrative that my friends were competition. I never had such genuine friendships in my life. Especially with you, we've gotten to know each other so well online and in person. You've already been through so much, and the last thing I want to do is cause more harm. But I did. I'm sorry for not reaching out sooner about these ideas that were put in my head. I wish we would have been able to talk about this too. I didn't know about the severity of things that had been said and theorized about my own friends behind my back until now. It is my fault for not realizing the things Red was saying about you. The countless friendships I've made here within the last several years mean so much more to me than him and the business side of things, and his way of thinking. No amount of popularity or money means more to me than the relationships I've built in this community. I've always been myself, whether that be on stream or in person, and I hope the friends I've made can understand I'd never condone this behavior or any of the things that were said about my friends. I've always wanted everyone around me to thrive and find happiness. I can't stress enough how disappointed I am that I didn't see this sooner until it got to a breaking point. I am sorry, Bao. To Sack, I loved getting to chat with you in person and absolutely loved all the hard work you put into the Boss Rush song. I was so grateful to hear you were on board to edit the music video. I don't remember exactly why the stream got pushed back, but I definitely wouldn't have put the blame on you, knowing about how soon the deadline was when you started working on it. I was so thankful for your willingness to complete the project despite everything, and the quality of how it turned out was incredible. I can't believe how Red talked about you, especially after all the effort you put in for me. I'm so sorry for everything that's happened. To Cotton and Lily, I'm so sorry you had to get dragged into this. It's my fault I let it get this far, but I hope you can believe me when I say I had no knowledge of Red bringing you up in Nano's DMs. I just learned about all of this myself, and there could have been so many other friends affected by the narrative that things always had to be competitive. If I knew Red was trying to exclude specific friends in this exclusivity deal, I would have spoken up. None of my friendships are worth sacrificing over an art piece. I loved being your friend and all the memories we've shared, and I hope someday you could forgive me for allowing this to happen. Since the start, I loved that I saw somebody else sharing so many interests to me, and I thought maybe someday we could talk about it and all be good friends. I was blinded by all these hate comments around me calling me your lesser half. I hate the person I've become towards you. I tried reaching out some time ago to start up a friendly convo to change things and make things right, say hi to you at conventions, and support your endeavors. But despite all that, I was still being eaten alive by my own doubts and fear or harassment. I was pressured by the community as a whole to try reaching out to collaborate since I got these messages so often comparing us, and I hoped we could work something out. The photo of me at the meet and greet was taken candidly, and I thought it looked so cute, and I posted it without asking you, which was wrong of me. I was so wrong for letting everyone get in my head about all these malicious things. I'm so sorry for any opportunities I've taken away from you. I'm sorry, Silver. To Spite, I'm sorry I had assumed things about your design that weren't true, and I'm sorry you've been harassed by commenters needing to compare us. And I'm sorry for the way Red spoke about you to Nano. You didn't deserve any of this. Spite, I'm sorry. To Peaches, I'm sorry if it made it seem like I was ignoring you or ghosting you. I was so happy we had the opportunity to meet in person, and I was apologetic with how busy things were for me at the time. I wanted to spend more time with you, but as I got more and more DMs and messages, everything became so overwhelming. I've always had a low social battery, and that made it so hard for me to keep up to date with all my friends. I've never had any ill feelings towards you, and I still don't. To Rain, you were the first person I met as an ASM artist during a time where I was immature and vulnerable. I ended up being consumed by the content I was making, and it led me to making awful decisions I still think about and regret. I was not in a good spot at the time. I've hated myself for this kind of behavior, and it took a long time for me to move on from what happened. I have no excuses. I'm sorry you were dragged into my drama, and I'm sorry how I made you feel after I just wanted to close the book on things. I'm sorry to my Pyro Pups and my mods for expecting me to lead by a better example than this. I'm sorry to the VTuber community for looking towards me as somebody to aspire to. I'm sorry to Kaiser, who has put his heart and soul into everything he's ever done for me, and not even talking to you about how I felt. I'm sorry to the dozens of artists that have put their hard work into me. And I'm sorry to the rest of my friends who I've let down. I have led a bad example and I don't expect forgiveness. I've made many mistakes over my 5 years on the internet. I'm only one person, living the one life I get for the first and only time, like everyone else. As I said at the start, I ended up developing an extremely unhealthy work-life balance, and the harm Red has caused with the way he viewed things is irreparable. The way I've been perceiving things lately is not how I want to view the world moving forward, and this goes to show there's a lot I need to address and improve if I'm to continue being a creator. I'm devastated that the friendship so special to me may, understandably, never be mended again. I love my job and I love all the friends I've had. Thank you for reading, Cinder. This apology at the end of the day is for all the affected parties, to determine whether it is adequate or not for me, a random YouTuber. But reading it, this is a whole lot of, my boyfriend did it. There was the tiniest bit of accountability, probably 1%, with 99% of this document blaming literally everything on Red. And if Red is your partner for this long, your partner since you were the other identity Tashi, and Red is your manager acting on your behalf, do you think we are stupid? I am sure you tell your partner everything. Do you expect me to think that you and your boyfriend, where sometimes, right, I could give benefit of doubt if your partner is extremely removed from what you're doing that you may not know, like let's say you are a creator and your partner is, I don't know, a plumber, and your partner was saying racist things to his friends and you just work from home and you just weren't at the workplace, you just didn't know. I could maybe believe that. You want me to believe your partner is intimately knees and elbows deep in the grease of your business process as a VTuber from the beginning till now. And you had absolutely no idea he blacklisted all these creators. You had no idea he was talking all this shit to Nano. You had no idea he was pressuring Nano into this exclusivity. Yeah. And the sky isn't blue. So under the apology, nobody is happy. Shylily put out this, and if Lily is writing this about you, you fucked up. The absolute audacity to sit here and continue to manipulate and gaslight is absolute insanity. The pain and mental torment you've caused to the ones closest and most supportive of you has been devastating, and I've never been so heartbroken and hurt so badly for my friends. You are the fakest person I've ever had the displeasure of supporting. Reading and hearing of how you really viewed me behind my back, not just through screenshots of your man, but also your very own messages while having to sit here and read through these bullshit lies you spin, makes me want to vomit. To claim that you didn't know a single thing and had zero awareness of what your man was up to, when everyone who's shared even a single moment with you knows that you basically operate as the same person, sharing every waking moment while loving to jump at the slightest opportunity to turn into your most slanderous self as soon as the opportunity was given, even when talking about your friends, is sickening. I have experienced your own actions without Red in a situation where your own screenshotted words, you express a, quote, pressure to live up to what Lily is, end quote, and proceeded to throw one of your most loyal and supportive friends under the bus after months of continuous planning, just because you consistently choose business over friends, never feeling bad for failing them. Just to earn the bag and compete with me over a V-Card collab that you rescheduled to be on the exact date your friend needed you to keep an important promise. You actively lied about it to them, instead blaming me for a collab you rescheduled, adding me to the pool of excuses to save your ass when you realized you were being a bad friend. Why blame me for choosing to miss an obligation you agreed to on one of the most important days in that friend's career? Everything you do is out of competition through your constant need to one up the people who are the sole reason you even have these opportunities and platforms to earn from to begin with. You're welcome, by the way. You claim that it's just business. Well, in the business world, there has to be accountability, and all you've done is try to shove it away and admit nothing. In true narcissistic fashion, you're only feeling sorry about it yourself and your own consequences and your career to try to salvage it. I'm sorry for everyone who looked up to you as an inspiration, and I'm especially sorry for your fans. Pyropups deserve better. Cottontails writes, I'm so disappointed, dude. Nanners writes, I've seen Silver receive so much harassment and unfair comparisons to you over the years, and she just tanked it, minded her own business, and never once tried to sabotage your success or tear you down. Deflecting and outright lying several times in this response, instead of fully owning up to your mistakes, is insulting to everyone. I can't help but feel very frustrated on behalf of my friend and everyone who is on the receiving end of so much unnecessary stress, largely due to the choices you made. They handled the situation with much more grace than you decided to, and they deserve better. The weird backhanded remark you made the first time we ever met last year stuck with me, and now it makes a lot more sense knowing that this is apparently how you normally view and treat people. I hope you can learn from this and realize it's way easier to be kind and to be happy for your success as well as the success of others. Vape writes, the classic shift the blame onto the boyfriend, fake a breakup, come back single and in therapy, then capitalize on what's left of your community. They deserve better. Yoki writes, quote, the countless friendships I've made here within the last several years mean so much more to me than him and the business side of things and his way of thinking, end quote. I'm so disappointed. You have known Red since your college days and have a long-term relationship. How can you think it's okay just to put all the blame on him and pretend you didn't even know what he was saying or doing as your manager? I don't believe this. Even if Red would put out a statement saying he's in fact the devil and everything is his fault, I wouldn't believe it because it would be too convenient. There is no way he's been building your brand behind your back and being the person you're closest with without you knowing what's going on. I agree too. As somebody in a long-term relationship, I literally know when he goes to the bathroom. He'll just text me updates. There is no way you don't know. Camila writes, as if boyfriend and girlfriend don't tell each other every single little thing. You are blaming him to save yourself. I am so disappointed in you both. Shame on you for the pain you have caused to all your friends just so you can be the best. Vienna writes, I really struggled with the right words, but the price of caring for somebody is the pain you feel when you lose them. All of us feel this pain now. I couldn't understand why Bao, who brought us all together in the first place, was a target of this. It was never a competition. What is a successful career without anyone to share your victories and defeats with? We all look forward to planning sleepovers, trips, movie nights, putting our souls out there for the world and our music together. I was so honored for the opportunity to work on Boss Rush and with you both. It's very sad that the closest people to you have been made to feel like stones to step on, ladders to kick down, and more. I hope the situation becomes a learning opportunity for us all. And Van Peaches writes, I feel really sad for you and for the people who are going to read this apology for what it is. Please take care of yourself. Expert Armchair wrote this, and I think it's a good analysis of the scapegoating thing. They write, scapegoating only works in situations where at least one of the following three conditions apply. 1, people are ignorant to the fact you're doing it. 2, people are willing to participate in the act. 3, your scapegoat is already held in lower public regard than you. Amazingly, not a single one of these apply here. This was no sacrifice, this was an abortion, a complete dismemberment of whatever nascent goodwill could have emerged out of acknowledging the situation. For any other content creators interested in extracting some sort of constructive lesson from this dumpster fire, remember, it is generally safe to assume that your audience is uninformed, but it's never safe to assume that your audience is stupid. And because of this, more people came out with their side. So here we have Twitter user Aru, who goes with the handle Deputy Aru, quote retweeting Cinder's apology, and they write, I hadn't planned on tweeting anything about this until I saw Cinder's apology. While I wasn't hurt to the extent others were, it's clear now that I was lied to and used, not treated as a friend, but as a tool. I first met Cinder during a Twitch Rivals tournament and really looked up to her. We hit it off, messaged a lot, and even got closer at TwitchCon 2022, where I spent most of the day with her and Red. At one point, she noticed I was mutuals with Silvervale, somebody I admired since meeting her at PAX, and asked if I could introduce her. I thought she was just a fan like I was. Cinder invited me to go with her to Silvervale's meet and greet, and it means a lot. As someone who didn't grow up with many social invitations due to being homeschooled in a foreign country, that gesture felt special. But looking back, I realized she only invited me because she thought I could give her access to Silvervale. After I introduced them, Cinder pushed me to ask Silvervale for a collab. I'm somebody who rarely initiates collabs. I prefer to build friendships off-stream first or let things happen naturally. Still, I went out of my comfort zone to help because I believed she genuinely admired Silvervale. Now I know that wasn't true, and realizing she actually harbored resentment the whole time makes me feel completely used. I wasn't a person to her, just a connection. I did message Silvervale about the collab the first time, but when Cinder followed up again, I brushed it off because I didn't want to pressure her. Over time, I started noticing that Cinder didn't treat me like a real friend, more like a means to an end. Sometimes she made it clear IRL that she didn't even like me, and I can't help but think it's because I didn't push harder for the collab. By 2023, our interactions had nearly stopped. Still, I tried keeping things friendly in DMs and IRL because I didn't know how to stand up for myself or set boundaries. That's changed now for obvious reasons. It's hard to say, but Cinder's apology doesn't feel genuine, especially not towards Silvervale. The truth is, Cinder isn't the only one who makes others in this space feel used or small. People like her, Yaki, and others made me feel that the best choice for myself was to step away from VTubing entirely and made me afraid to build new connections. But as I said yesterday, there are good people in this space, and they're the ones worth holding on to. Don't let the bad ones stop you from being your genuine self. To my community, I think I'd like to try coming back to VTubing. When we talked about it last night, hearing how much you all loved the VTubing streams honestly hit me hard. It made me sad to realize I gave up on something that I loved because of the shitty, awful people who poisoned the space for me. To the friends I pulled away from because I was trying to protect my peace, I'm sorry. I love the chance to reconnect and build those friendships. I started VTubing because I believed in the joy and creativity of this community. It's heartbreaking to see that spirit dimmed by people who take advantage of others' kindness. Hold them accountable, call it out. What I went through wasn't nearly as intense as what Nano experienced, but I do understand how hard it is to say no to a friend, especially when they make you feel like you're the only one who can help. I truly hope everyone affected by Cinder can heal and move forward. And I'm sorry for any negativity this situation has brought up from my side as well. So here are the DMs October 8th, 2022, where Cinder invited Aru to the Silvervale meet and greets. And then Cinder says, I'm really nervous and I think I remember you meeting her before. And Aru says, I met her before. She's so nice, don't worry. Then Cinder DM'd a couple days later, were you still thinking about messaging Silvervale about a wolf girl chat? I'm not sure if she'd really want to, but I'd love to do more with you anyways. We should plan our spooky collab when we recovered from this weekend. And Aru agrees. And note, look at what Cinder says here. I know I'm pooped from this weekend, but I want to do lots with my friends still. So really showing the love, implying that Aru and them are friends. Did Cinder really feel this way, or is Cinder saying this and laying it on thick to try to encourage Aru to message Silver for the collab? And Aru says, sounds like she would be down to play games together once her schedule clears up. So this was the DM Aru sent to Silver. It was really sweet. And Aru sent a little graphic of Silver with like two little hands holding phones with their VTuber models. It was like a picture they all took together. Silver says it would be fun when things calm down. And then here, December, Silver bumps the message, and then Aru says, let me message her right now. And Aru adds, all the kind words really mean a lot to me. I've been reading messages from friends, acquaintances, and especially my community. And I'm so thankful for the messages about possibly coming back to VTubing. I've genuinely cried reading some of the replies, and they've affected me very deeply in a very good way. I love y'all very much, and thank you for everything. That said, I do want to address something, especially for the Pyro pups who are hurting so deeply right now. I understand wanting to defend her, but for those asking why post this, why stir things up, she didn't do anything wrong, she was trying to network, I want to be clear that the entire reason I spoke up in the first place was to show that it wasn't just Red behaving this way. I only understood her motive with me after Silvervale shared her document. Then, seeing her apology where she shifted all the blame onto Red, I felt it was important to step in, not just to support Silvervale's story, which honestly spoke for itself given how many people were affected, but also to point out that her apology wasn't honest. Even while holding deep hatred towards Silvervale, she still used me and likely others to try and force a collaboration with her, all while pretending it came from a place of love and respect. This wasn't Red's idea, and it wasn't something he pushed. Pyro pups and everyone affected by all of this, again, I truly hope you find healing. I know how heavy it feels right now, and it won't be easy, but I believe in you. Keep holding on to that flame, that kindness, and that positivity. It's not going anywhere. Trust that y'all got this, and the entirety of the VTubing community is supporting you. And then Bao went live 2 days ago to talk about the situation. I'll summarize it real quick, but I do really advise that you hear the words out of Bao's own mouth. In the beginning of her stream, she was talking about her medical condition and how she was going to the hospital for some procedures, that Lily had reached out to Bao to talk about something important, but was being patient because she knew that Bao was going through this medical situation. And then Lily reached out to Bao to talk after the procedure, after Bao had recovered, and they talked about the entire Cinder situation. So then Bao talks about her feelings, and Bao mentions that in the content spaces, there can be transactional relationships, but it felt that in their friend group specifically, that things went much deeper and were personal. That when she found out about everything, she cried, was mad and sad, that she knew it was just a business. I think this clip that is shared by Twitch Cats Are Life is a really good representation of how Bao felt.
No, if you want to say anything, because you keep it to yourself and you keep hoping it's your imagination, but then the cruel realization hits that it wasn't. It's even more worse than you could have ever imagined.
And that is because Bao felt like over time, Cinder was slowly distancing herself from Bao, but Bao didn't know why and felt like she was just going crazy. Then she found out she wasn't going crazy and that Cinder genuinely felt Bao was competition. And Bao states that she feels there's ways to be competitive without hurting others, and that she was confused because she felt that Cinder had everything she could dream of. So she didn't consider herself competition in any regards whatsoever. In regards to being referred to as a thief, Bao says, "How could I be a thief when I spent 5 hours talking to my editor to assure them I wouldn't be upset if they took an exclusivity deal with you?" Which again, we have June in the manager in the call to corroborate this. Then when Bao put out her document, Bao stated that she purposely kept the document very objective and didn't mention personal things, like Cinder having a significant other, and that significant other being Red, because Bao knew what it would do to Cinder's reputation to reveal such information. But she was so upset that Cinder couldn't have any sort of level of empathy or care, even a similar amount that Bao was showing to her. Then Bao had read Cinder's apology to see if she was still viewed as a friend, and at the end of the document, Bao still didn't know. And then Bao said, "I feel at every single pivotal moment, you had a choice to be a good friend and you chose not to." And in terms of the document, Bao felt like she had to make the document because if she didn't, then nobody else would say something. And that while she really didn't want to, it was the right thing to do. And then Bao also tweeted, "Bao, how can you say you didn't know? I showed you both my base model sketch from Nano at WeebCon. We walked on stage and performed together. You were in the group chat where I shared my sadness over Nano suddenly canceling my model after we were so close to begin live 2D rigging. And now to find out that just the day before I shared my sadness, this is the conversation that happened that ruined months of debut prep, planning, merch preparation. If you want to apologize to me, please do it properly and stop hiding behind Red." And these are the convos where Red was asking if Nano canceled with Bao. And this is August 5th, 2024. The day after, Bao posted, "Smudge, Nano had to drop me as a client because our work schedule is too hectic." People are reacting due to this Cinder situation happening. So Bella posted this in the thread. Dan, Cinder's head mod, steps down after seeing Cinder's response. So Dan writes, "Hi all, small update to the above. Please no longer contact me regarding the future of the server or any questions regarding Cinder. I'm stepping down as an admin and mod." They cited that they wanted to be neutral until Cinder shared their side. That they don't want hate sent to the mods that choose to stay or mods that choose to leave, etc. And that just to give respect to everyone. And then this person, Vivrick, posted the set of photos writing, "Just a friendly reminder, some of your Cinder merch isn't fire resistant. As somebody who looked up to her in the VTubing community, it really hurt to see what kind of person she was outside of streaming. Also, sorry, Makeshift, I love you. I have so many VTuber plushies too." And then people were clarifying that it's likely a U2's plushie. So because of this, people were also saying, hey, this could be donated, etc. And we read about Aura Culture earlier, but Aura Culture writes, "Dear Pyropubs, I know so many of you are hurting right now and you have every right to feel the way you do. When everything first happened, my instinct was to throw away the leftover merch I had. But after sitting with it overnight, I realized that even in moments of heartbreak, we have the power to choose kindness. A child wouldn't care about the name attached to a plush. They'll know they have something to hug when they feel alone. A man living on the streets won't care about the logo on a jacket, only that it will keep him warm enough through another colder night. Today, I donated every last piece of my remaining Cinder merch to people who need it more than I ever could. If you're struggling with what to do, I hope you'll consider donating too. Turning our pain into a little light for somebody else might be the best thing we can do right now. Stay strong and take care of yourselves." And it's a video of them donating the clothing into a clothing drop-off spot. And a commenter says, "You look so defeated, goddamn, stay strong, buddy." And Aura Culture responds, "I won't lie, it's been tough. I run my brand alone, and lately it's felt like one hit after another. 15K is a brutal loss for somebody like me without a big backing, but I don't regret what I did. Money will come and go, character stays. I'm still here, and I'll keep making cool things for cool people, no matter how many times I get knocked down." So VTuber Newbie came out talking about their side of the concert. They were the one that Cinder had canceled on, and this is a video posted by Daily Dose of VTubing with what Numi had stated. Again, highly recommend you listen to it so you can hear the words directly out of their mouth, but I'll provide a quicker summary. So Numi stated that they didn't want to say more because they didn't want to take away from those affected, and they confirmed that Cinder was the one who canceled the concert. They were upset, not because of necessarily the cancellation, they were understanding stage fright, maybe whatever, but that they never knew how Cinder felt, that it was Red who did the cancellation, and they canceled it 1.5 weeks before the concert. And Numi was confused because leading up to the concert, Cinder was enthusiastic, constantly excited about working about this project, and that Numi had asked month by month, "Hey, you're still down for this?" And Cinder always confirmed it. And then randomly 1.5 weeks before, Cinder bailed. And they bailed super last minute to where It was too late to find a replacement, but Bao actually stepped up and flew all the way into New York to stand in. And Numi stated that they would have been completely understanding if it was stage fright or anxiety. Numi confronted Cinder about why they canceled, because Numi was like, I would be understanding if it was stage fright, etc. I just don't want to hear you put business over friends. And Cinder's excuse was, oh, I have a collab that I can't miss, which is putting business over friends. Numi personally felt, okay, this is not what I wanted to hear, but was this something that could be canceled? And then Numi found out that the collab was with Shylily, somebody who definitely wouldn't have put business over friends and would have been totally okay with moving the collab. And then Numi found out that Cinder was actually the one who purposely moved the collab to conflict with the concert so that she couldn't go. This whole situation with Cinder is absolutely awful. And always with these things, kind of the final thing is, will Cinder ever be welcomed back into the VTuber community? And again, don't send hate to any parties involved. Don't witch hunt, okay? She's already absolutely canceled out of the VTuber community. So dogpiling on top of that is not adding anything new. But in my personal opinion, no. Just objectively speaking, from a business standpoint, I don't think Cinder in her current state could ever come back, because no big creator would ever touch you with a 10-foot pole. You've literally burned bridges with like every notable VTuber that you were friends with by talking mad shit behind their back. And no other new up-and-coming VTubers would want to work with you because they know that you would only use them and you would throw them away the first chance you get. And I mean, again, we have this video posted by Undead Kitsune VT, which is just a slideshow to like clown music of all of these big VTubers coming out and stating how they are so extremely disappointed with Cinder and how upset they are due to how Cinder have treated them. It just goes on and on and on. In terms of looking at this from like a fan base perspective, VTuber fans function differently than like fans of content creators or like camera content creators. VTubers have their Oshis, which is like their idol. They're like super fans for their idol. And if their Oshi was burned by Cinder, those fans would then no longer support Cinder as well. That's just how it's gonna work. And because so many VTubers got screwed over by Cinder, she's gonna lose a massive chunk of her audience. Even her core audience, the Pyro Pups, are really backing out after this, just because when you find out that your Oshi is just deep down a rotten person, it's very difficult to kind of defend them anymore. And this post by Lumi Angler like really kind of adds it as well. They write, with the VTuber sphere, it seems like if you've even given a hint you don't like another creator, that person's fan base will side eye you. Like, how dare you not like my perfect Oshi? Maybe something's wrong with you. Toxic positivity is a problem, and it should be fine to say, yeah, I don't really vibe with this person and not get harassed for it. There is a difference between dislike and hate, but people don't understand that. Normalize vocalizing your dislike of people and not being a steak, please and thank you. The crowd is vicious. Artists will not want to work with you. And when artists find out that you mistreated your artist this badly, hostaging them, trying to like strong arm them into this shitty exclusivity deal, no artist is going to want to work with you after knowing this, after knowing how you treat people, and also because your brand is now tainted. Any artist who works with Cinder, and I don't agree with this concept of like dogging on an artist for just trying to make some money, but there will be people, the public community, that will see anybody who associates with Cinder and it will reflect on them in a negative light in their eyes. That is just how people will view it. And again, from a business standpoint, businesses will not also want to work with you because businesses want to retain connections with their large creators. And if you screwed over this many large creators, would they rather have, you know, all of these large creators in their good graces or you? They can only have one or the other, and they're of course not going to pick you because numbers wise, that math just doesn't math out. In her current state, I don't think she can come back significantly just due to everything that's happened. You know, just I'm tossing this in at the end as like a little analysis, but please, the main focus of this is everybody that is affected. All of the creators that she screwed over, Nano, the artist, Sack, the editor, Bao, Cottontail, Rain, Spite, Vampeaches, Silvervale, Nantails, Giga, Numi, Shylily. The list is so long. And there's even more people that were affected by Cinder as well. Please show your love and support to everybody that is affected. I'll have everything linked down below in the comment section if you'd like to check them out. This is absolutely crazy. And personally, at the end of the day, I always like to hope that people can be better and learn to be a better person. You only have one life to live at the end of the day. But to have done so much wrong to so many people and put out an apology doc where you throw all of the blame onto your long-term partner, who, again, nobody's stupid. For 1 second, we're not believing it. It shows that you still have no accountability and that you have a long way to go to grow as a person. But to wrap this all up, if you like this video, I appreciate it if you like and subscribe. I'm on VGen, if you do want to check my art out over there. I also have a coffee with free resources for streamers and content creators. And I also stream on Twitch 3 days a week, Mondays, Wednesdays, Saturdays at 6 p.m. PST. We first covered this on Twitch. So if you saw it on Twitch, you're the GOAT.